The day after a Russian missile strikes hit the city of Poltava, killing more than 50 Ukrainians amid a political shakeup there.
Ukraine's foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba has resigned. Last week, President Volodymyr Zelensky announced he was planning to reshuffle his team and he'll now need a new top diplomat. Kuleba's resignation follows those of 5 ministers yesterday. President Zelensky's vowed to reset his cabinet, in his words, to achieve the results we need.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. While a ceasefire deal in Gaza to free more hostages remains elusive after Hamas murdered 6 of them.
The Department of Justice announced charges against 6 Hamas defendants linked to the October 7th massacre. The highest profile figure charged is Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, and the charges include conspiracy to murder U.S. nationals and conspiracy to provide support to a foreign terrorist organization.
Fox's Trey Inkst in Tel Aviv. 3 of the 6 Hamas militants charged have already been killed. A police officer's in critical condition in Phoenix, Arizona, shot responding to a car break-in last night, along with a second officer who
was saved by his ballistic vest and is in stable condition.
That's Phoenix Police Chief Mike Sullivan. A suspect was taken into custody. Less than 9 weeks before the election, Vice President Harris will campaign in New Hampshire today, planning to detail proposed tax breaks for small businesses. Former President Trump will be on primetime TV at a Fox News Channel town hall in Pennsylvania, nearly 2 months after the Trump assassination attempt. And there's more scrutiny on his protection.
Whistleblowers telling Missouri Senator Josh Hawley that Secret Service personnel are unprepared and not properly trained to protect candidates. The whistleblowers say that Homeland Security agents, not Secret Service agents, were assigned to work on protective details at former President Trump's Butler, Pennsylvania rally.
That's Fox's Brooke Singman. America's listening to Fox News.
In theaters now, Reagan returns to office.
We are the greatest country in the world. We have just forgotten it.
You can run from a bully for so long, but after a while, you're going to have to stand up to him. I am about to start the biggest war of this century.
You told me you wanted to make a difference in this world.
What would you have me do?
I want you to fight!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Reagan in theaters now. Rated PG-13. May not be suitable for children under 13.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
The Morning Xtra, only on Xtra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. I know it doesn't feel like hump day, but it's Mike. It's hump day. We're halfway through the daggone work week. Let's go. I've never been so more excited in my whole life.
It is a lot of energy for 6:03.
You know why?
He's already into the zero
FG.
FG right now.
Boys. That's what it is.
Oh man, would you go in the bathroom and some nose candy? What's going on? You get all
zero FG. Did you not hear?
It's weird, Rhino. It's not even open.
No, that's not true.
And there's all sorts of powder around his nose.
That's not true, Joey. I need more up Joey. Look here. Hey, I know it is, but I don't partake. Look at there, Joey. What is this zero FG?
It's got a cocaine rim. Oh. It's like tahini on a margarita.
All right, shut up, Joey.
It's so well done. Thank you to the people at Zero FG.
Yeah, that's right.
Keeping this show going the right way.
That's right, absolutely.
All right, I'm watching on YouTube. I see it's open.
Oh, see, thank you, Rhino. I appreciate that. Finally
I see the straw in it that's directly connected to your nose, but whatever.
I
don't know what's in the can.
Yeah, it's so strange that he now has done it intravenously. He's just like, plugged it right into his veins.
No. No, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, anyway, how is everybody? I mean, Rhino, everything good in New York and North Carolina?
Yeah, it's not bad in North Carolina. I mean, it's not a happy occasion why we're here.
Yes.
But otherwise, right now, the one thing, I know a lot of people don't know probably what I'm doing here. Unless you guys explained it the other day, but we lost a friend this weekend, somebody who welcomed us to this town. The one thing I love about this town is when we first bought our house here, we got to meet these this beautiful couple that puts on things to welcome people to the town. One of them is the vinyl night, and I've put up videos, and many people have seen me like lip syncing to some of the videos. But these people put this on and bring people together all the time, and we came together as a family. We came together as friends. Unfortunately, we lost one of them, Melissa, who we love, but the whole town has just kind of come together, and it's great. You walk down the town and people see you and they hug you and they welcome you, and so it's kind of been a sad thing, but it's also a beautiful thing because some people just have the ability to bring people together and create bonds that will never be broken. So bittersweet at the same time. So yeah, but otherwise it's a beautiful town, and we're all just kind of supporting each other at this point.
Definitely, yeah, you have to, man. That's the only way you can do it in life these days. The only way to get through. FOL, man. How was your morning so far, dude?
Yeah.
Yes. Come on, it's Wednesday, man. It's hump day.
I got up this morning, and the funny part was, so the wife is like kind of shaking me a little bit. She's like, "Hey, are you gonna get up?" And
I slept through my alarm this morning.
All right, so
I've never that I recall. I've never done that since I've been on the show.
So I because I have a multitude, and after the first two, I was like, you know what, I'm not interested in getting up just yet. And I was like, you know what, I showered last night, so I'm not in a big hurry. And she's giving me the whole like, hey, are you okay? You getting up? And I go, I got 20 more minutes.
Back off, lady.
Back off.
Yeah. So I don't know what I don't have a multitude of alarms. I just have one set for time to get up, one set for got to leave by the house by this time. That's it. And once in a while I'll snooze. It's not very often, but once in a while I'll hit the snooze button.
Oh, it's midweek snooze time right now.
Well, but see, I didn't. I was going for midweek snooze, Wednesday snooze. Just one more, goes off at 3:45. Just one little snooze. That's all I need. And I turned that thing off, dude. I woke up and I was like, oh, God.
It's the same attitude Rhino as his just one more bump.
Yeah.
Just one more snooze.
FG, F0, FG, of course. Anyway.
Well, that sounds good that you maybe that extra 15, I mean, you came in rocking it, so obviously you needed a little bit of snooze.
Yeah, well, but I think it was more because I'll tell you, I jumped in the old, the chair out front, our massage chair. From, what's the Dream Galleria, is that it?
Sleep Galleria.
Sleep Galleria. And I did like a little session there, and as I was sitting there, my eyes got so heavy. I was like, oh, my God. So I was afraid I was going to be just dragging when I came in here. But turns out 2 pulls off of 0FG, and I was like a rocket ship. I was like Trump's numbers, just off the stinking charts. And let me tell you, MSNBC has noticed, and it hurts them so bad. It hurts them to have to admit. They play it straight, of course, but, they hate hearing that Trump is in such a strong position coming out of Labor Day. Listen to this.
National polling average right now, recent major national polls, it's Harris by 3 points over Trump. Now, if you're a Democrat, obviously you're happy that your candidate is leading. You're also happy because this is an improvement from where the race stood for Democrats when Joe Biden was their candidate. He had basically trailed Donald Trump all year. But if you're a Republican looking at this poll average coming out of Labor Day, you could take some solace too, because Donald Trump is no stranger to this position, being behind come Labor Day in a presidential election. Back in 2016, on average, he was down by 5 points against Hillary Clinton coming out of Labor Day. Of course, Trump won in 2016, and in 2020, on average, he was trailing Joe Biden by an even wider margin, and yet he didn't come back to win, but he came back to come extremely close, Trump did, in the Electoral College. So certainly, from Trump's standpoint here, 3 points, to be behind 3 points, in some ways, that might look a little better than the last 2 times.
And he always underpolls. He always outperforms his polls. Always, always, always. This is nothing new. So if you're a Trump supporter, as we all are on this show anyway, you have to be ecstatic about the way this is looking and stacking up.
Yeah, you would think that the one thing that we do know is that Democrats mostly answer the polls more than Republicans, but at the same time, we do know there's a margin of error, and they are worried. I mean, I've seen it all day. I've seen it all day yesterday. I was looking through different articles and same thing, watching MSNBC and these kind of shows that are talking about how scared they are at this point. And now they're not saying they're scared, but you can tell just by that clip, they're nervous that these polls are not exactly what we think they are. are, and they're 100% right. And we'll talk about it later. Politico did a whole thing on why you should not look at these polls, why you should be, just getting out there for Kamala Harris, because they are so afraid that Trump's going to win.
Well, they're always adamant to tell you about what's going on with the national polling, but again, you've got to focus on swing states. In the national polling, in order for Kamala Harris to win, she's got to be ahead by 7 to 10 points. The fact that it's just 3, it has them looking around at the internals of what's going on in places like Pennsylvania and going, we're going to lose.
Man, we should have picked Shapiro.
Well, here's what's going to happen. If this does go the way that we are hoping that it all goes, it's going to be fascinating to see, because I still remember in 2016 it was the white lash. Remember, that was Donald Trump. It was a white lash. Here's what happens. When they start telling themselves, we should have stuck with Joe, who can barely form a sentence. Okay? Because Joe was able to land Midwestern white guys, working class dudes who thought, man, Joe's our guy. All right. What happens when those people leave in droves and now you're left with Kamala Harris, the far left loony from San Francisco?
You get what you asked for if you elect that crazy woman. But another poll, the Nate Silver, the 538 poll, he's another guy, and he is a lefty Looney Tune just like Kamala Harris. But at least he's an honest one, because he's saying the same thing that the MSNBC guy is saying. Dude, we're in trouble. Trump is leading nationally. This is bad news for Democrats. And that was a poll that was everywhere yesterday.
Yeah, look, again, that was one of the ones I watched and listened to and read about. But the reality is, Carlos is 100% right. When you look at Pennsylvania right now, when you look at Michigan, those are really scary areas for Kamala Harris and the entire Democrat Party. And right now, they're pushing down ballot races so hard because they're like, we need to make sure that we're getting every single vote we can in every single office that we can, because we're not so sure about the presidential election anymore. And the reality of it is this: these same people that Carlos was just talking about in Pennsylvania, in the Midwest, they don't care about joy. They care about money. They care about the economy. They care about taking care of their family. And that whole joy thing has just kind of went away. People aren't joyful when they're getting their paychecks or not getting their paychecks like a lot of people right now.
Oh, girl power only goes so far when you're a dude and you're sitting back going, why am I working like this? Why am I working this hard and I'm getting this little out of it?
Like, I like for my wife to be happy with girl power, and then my niece to be happy with girl power. And when the rubber meets the road, silly nonsense, don't care about it. Just like Rhino said, I care about putting food on the table.
Well, let's say you're a man 35 to 55. And you
fall into that category.
And you're just trying to make ends meet, and you're just trying to get stuff done, and eventually you'd like to retire. The last effing thing I want to hear about is brat energy.
I thought the same thing.
So silly. Well, the Brat Summer's dead. The Brat Summer's dead. One of the pop queens, like Nicki Minaj or one of those. They're like, Brat Summer is over. It's dead. I'm like, well, at least she's recognized it.
Yeah, well, so is Joy. Joy is dead now too. I mean, people aren't happy right now. People, they're being forced to be happy, and that's, I think, a really big backfire for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. People are like, yeah, joy, joy, joy. And then they get home from one of these rallies and they go, now how do I pay these bills? Now how do I get gas? Or I can't even afford gas home from that rally. This is the kind of thing that people are not overlooking. They don't care about the joy. They don't care about the brat. So when one of these people come up to their door and knock and go, hey, come on, vote for her. We're all going to be brats. They're like, yeah, I don't have time for being a brat. I got to go to work. I got to get money. I got to pay for my kids' school. I got to go ahead and get food on this table. I don't have time for your brat summer.
Well, but that's the thing, though. I think joy comes with comfort, right? I mean, it's easy to talk about joy, but if no one's comfortable, ain't nobody happy. You know what I mean? It's like a baby with a dirty diaper. Ain't happy. There's nothing happy about that scenario. If you got chafing and you're having to use a monkey butt, you're not happy.
Kamala Harris is a dirty diaper.
she's chafing.
I think it's important to point out that, because Kamala's on the campaign trail, and we had another one yesterday where the small business startup tax, which was introduced and passed under Donald Trump as far as the amount of deduction you could take, she's now talking about how she's in support of it. Now, I'll do a tax deduction of $50,000.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on a second. This was not something you were in support of. In fact, there was only like 30 Democrats that were. And again, stealing somebody's homework, you're taking somebody else's policy and passing it off as your own again.
See, I mean, in school, you can't do that, Rhino. I'm not sure how the mainstream media, actually, I'm positive on how the mainstream media lets it slide, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't let this slide, and yet they do nonetheless.
And I think that a lot of the voters see through it. They just say, oh, okay, now she's pandering, because I think it opens up people's eyes to the pander. And they don't think that when she gets into office, she's actually going to implement these things. And I think that's a big, big backfire on their part to sit and copycat every single Trump policy. I mean, it's been everything to the border. We talked about, obviously, the no tax on tips, the no tax on Social Security. She hasn't said that yet, but I'm sure it'll come. And it's just every single time they go out there and say something, it's just what Donald Trump already did. And I think a lot of people go, now they're just pandering. She won't get it done. They didn't get it done in the first term, which that is part of what she is, part of that first term, and they're not going to get it done in the future.
No, you're right. And then I want to talk about somebody else that didn't get their goal accomplished, and that's the people in Buckhead. We were on their side. We're still on their side. Completely understand why they wanted to break away from the city of Atlanta, because the city of Atlanta takes their money and wastes it, just like the federal government wastes yours and mine, and then they have to be, I mean, look, as a North Fulton resident, I see my money wasted all the time, but it makes sense to me, the Buckhead folks wanting to break away from the city of Atlanta. This fight, I do not believe is over, but it is on pause for right now.
Yeah, it really is on pause right now, and I think a lot of people from Buckhead and those people who were voting in this and may have voted against it the first time may re-look what they voted for, because at this point, Atlanta Mayor,
there you go. I knew
Andre
what you meant.
Mayor.
That's right.
Andre Dickens, he went ahead and proposed that they are going to use $60 million in public funding to address homelessness and help people get into permanent homes. Now, the reality of it is this. There is no way this is just going to cost $50 million from the city.
It never
and
does.
the people, the taxpayers. It's going to be at least double that. And they've already said they're going to need at least $120 million in funding in order to get this done.
Huh. Isn't it interesting that the folks there were like, we want away from y'all because we can't trust you. We don't trust you with our safety. You know, we're supposed to have police protection. We pay for police protection, and Buckhead has become one of those places that nobody goes anymore. I know my family don't. We used to go occasionally down to have dinner or whatever. We rarely ever go down there because of just the craziness, the chaos. And then knowing how governments waste money. Everybody's familiar with it. Name one government program that ever goes under the number that they've asked for. It never happens. It never happens. And Buckhead will be the same way. It's no surprise. And I feel terrible for those folks for that, you know, just that goal falling short of it. But I hope that here in the next, I don't know, whenever they decide to ramp this thing back up, I'll be on their side again.
Yeah, I hope so too, and I hope that the taxpayers really get behind the the fight against the seating from Atlanta, because you know what, they are the ones that their property taxes, their millage rates, they're ridiculous at this point, and they're paying for all this. And you know what, even during the press conference yesterday, Mayor Dickens went out and said, we're probably going to have to get to about 180 million. So already.
Yeah. Right.
Even in the same speech, he's saying now he thinks he can get it from private funding, but he says most of it's going to come from public funding and private funding, and hopefully some other charity events that will come throughout. But again, once you get to that point, what happens when they don't come through? You're going to go to the taxpayer money, right, and you're going to do it.
That's
and
because that's an open-ended source of funds.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That never changes. Oh, my Lord, yeah.
And how are homeless people, if they're homeless right now, how are they going to afford these houses before the government has to come take them away and give it to somebody else, or have it managed by the government itself?
Yeah, that's the thing. Or, Los, the fact that they build these houses and then they get just torn to shreds because the people have no investment in them. They have no ownership in them. So it's just a place to live, and if it gets torn all to pieces, who cares? It's like when people rent, houses, they don't care about it. Like, I'll call somebody else to fix all this.
If you know where your Section 8 housing is, it's because you've driven by it and went, whoa.
Ooh, let me steer clear of that.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. As a former resident of Buckhead, I will just say that Man, I'm glad I was there at like the last little final gasp before it turned into, the goal was Rodeo Drive of the South.
Yeah.
Then they turned into, all right, well, we got to get out of here.
Skid Row of the South. It's not Skid Row by any means, but.
And one of the other things that they're going to add in, okay, and they've already talked about this, they want to add in services, including mental health, substance use, and abuse treatment, along with education, job services. Who do you think is going to pay for all of those as well?
Oh, Rhino, I'm sure it'll be, it'll be private funds. It'll be raised that way.
Author Blank and those guys. I'm sure they're going to just chip in and do it.
And look, and they may, but the problem is the price tag will be so far ahead of what they say it is, it'll take the public funds as well. I'm telling you, it always works out that way, just like you said. There's never a difference. It always works out that way. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3 when we come back. The Talkmaster Neil Bortz joins us, and he has got an appointment that he is not looking forward to this morning, and I'm sure he'll complain about it, among the other things that are happening in this crazy world. And hey, let's bring up tattoos while we're at it. I don't know if y'all are up for that, but maybe let's just talk about that with him, because that'll set him off and put this morning right in the motion it needs to be in. Morning Extra at Extra 106.3. We're on the air until 10.
The left-wing media is pushing counterfeit polls and bogus headlines, all while ignoring the stories that matter most. Trust the conservative voice of Atlanta for the real truth without the media spin. The Morning Extra, Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton, The Kimmer Show, Jesse Kelly, and the voices you need most are all on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months right here on Extra 106.3.
I said it yesterday, the things you got to look forward to in September are, here it is, looking at fall. First day of fall, Sunday, September 22nd. And if you want to get specific about it, it is the autumn equinox, and it happens at 8:43 a.m. Eastern Time. So there. Now you know fall is really, really just around the corner. It's Tug, and now that you know that, it's time to start thinking about upgrading your home's windows and doors with Southern Exteriors. Whether you're looking for energy-efficient windows, elegant entry doors, or durable patio doors, they've got the perfect fit for your home, whatever your need is. Plus, you can take advantage of 0% financing with no payments for up to 6 months. Call Southern Exteriors today, 8779-SOUTHERN, 8779-SOUTHERN, or you can visit them on the web. Easy website, their name, southernexteriors.co. Don't be confused, it's not .com. southernexteriors.co. Southern Exteriors, quality and precision you can rely on.
Get ready for Real Talk on the Janelle King Show, where we tackle kitchen table topics that are banned from family gatherings, but crucial for a strong republic. Tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday for an encore episode at 9 a.m. And if you can catch us live, great. But if not, no worries. New podcasts drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park right here on Extra 106.3 or wherever you get your podcast. Join us for insightful conversations that matter.
I've been with EMC Security for over 10 years, and their service and support are always fantastic. There's nothing better than a business that understands that great service earns loyalty, unlike companies that rely on contracts. Plus, their prices are unbeatable, and they're always focused on solving any issues quickly.
It's time to experience long-term satisfaction and true customer care. EMC Security, exceeding customer expectations since 1998. Visit emcsecurity.com for a free quote.
Hey, it's Tug from my friends, the Frost family of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about their family's company all the time here on Extra 106.3. First Liberty has helped hundreds of small businesses grow by saying yes when the big banks say no. On Wall Street, opportunities to earn big returns are everywhere. But for Main Street investors, those opportunities are hard to find. Until now. Our First Liberty notes are now open to qualified Main Street investors, paying interest rates of 8 to 13% while helping fuel the growth of small businesses right here in Georgia. With a few basic qualifications and with as little as $25,000, qualified Main Street investors just like you can earn an 8 to 13% interest rate. If this is you, they'd love to hear from you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and consider joining the First Liberty family today. That's FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. Hungry kids get sick more often and can struggle in school. It can be harder for them to focus and learn. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures.
We want to ensure that all of our kids have healthy meals every day.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping feed our kids.
To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
All right, here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, September 4th. State Democrats are appealing a ruling by Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger that allows independent presidential candidate Cornel West and socialist candidate Claudia de la Cruz on the ballot in November's election. Raffensperger stated that both West and de la Cruz cleared the 7,500 petition signature hurdle, allowing them to be on the ballot. The challenges are part of a national effort to block minor presidential candidates from taking votes away from Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. A FedEx driver was injured and hospitalized after he drove his truck into a Gwinnett County home. Neighbors said the driver lost control after coming around a corner and swerved to avoid improperly parked vehicles before hitting a mailbox and then crashing into the residence. According to Gwinnett Fire, no one from the home was injured. The driver is expected to recover after being thrown from the truck and rushed to the hospital. And in sports, Chris Sale reached 200 strikeouts and earned his 16th win after pitching 7 strong innings, leading the Braves to a 3-0 win over the Colorado Rockies last night at Truist Park. Sale won his 6th straight game and remains the leading contender for the NL Cy Young. Charlie Morton will look to keep the momentum going tonight at 7:20 when the two teams meet in Game 2. You can catch all that action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
Doug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra. And we welcome the legendary voice of Neil Bortz to the show. Neil, what's going on, man? Oh, wow. Well, that's not the start I expected to get, I'll be honest. What's up?
Well, I finish here. I shave. I go to the dentist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm very fortunate. My teeth have thrived on abuse.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so my wife has spent so much money on teeth, but not hers.
Oh.
No, I mean, let me tell you about her. We'll go to a restaurant, okay?
All right.
And the waitress, oh, my God, I said waitress. Oh, boy.
You're not supposed to say that.
Server. Yeah, is that off limits?
Oh, okay. I say waitress all the time. Yeah. Oh, my God, I must be out of line.
Anyway, she'll come up with just a mouth of horrible-looking little stubs and what have you. That's the kind of restaurants we go to.
Okay.
And Donna says, look, I'm going to buy you a new mouthful of teeth. I don't know how many teeth my wife has purchased for people.
Oh.
And
well, that's very generous because dentistry is expensive. Good Lord.
It is. Hey, folks, don't contact us. We're running out of money. Okay, that's
the disclaimer.
I want to get this out of the way.
Let me stop this text now, then.
That's right. Rhino's sending you one right now. What do you want to get out of the way?
Well, because it's not all that meaningful, but how about them dogs?
How about them dogs?
Oh, yeah. Tug was in the building.
Buddy, it was unbelievable. And it was so funny to see people in a little bit of a panic in the first half. And I was like, no, don't fall into this trap. All they're doing is they're just feeling it out, man. Let's see what Clemson's capable of. And it was not a lot.
You know what the coolest thing is, though?
Georgia winning big like that? That's what I thought.
No. No. What? Oh, gosh, I forgot his name now. Mind fart. The quarterback.
Carson Beck.
Yeah. What a gorgeous arm sleeve tattoo he has. That's the coolest damn thing. Oh, my God, it's just such a I want to see it close up. I want him to come by so I can just hold his hand and look at his arm for hours. All those wonderful tattoos all over his arm. So cool. I think he ought to start on the other arm now because he doesn't have a spider web on his elbow. I mean, he's got to get the elbow spider web. So I hope he starts on the next arm, maybe after the season. But how cool is that? He's going to be able to show his grandkids that arm, which by that time will look like a huge freaking bruise, and he'll be able to show that this is my arm tattoo. Grandpa, that went out back in such.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. God, tattoos, and I'm a leg guy. Would you ladies, unless your legs look like tree stumps, would you stop tattooing your damn legs, please?
I will say, we were up at Lake Lanier this weekend, and we were up there with, I don't know, there's probably 3 families all together. And we sat across from some woman, and you're obviously most people wearing bathing suits because they're coming off. And we went to a restaurant called Pigtails, which is great. And this woman had a gigantic on her chest, like just below her neck on her chest, had a gigantic like firefly or something. I was like, who gets a damn firefly? Of all things, if you're going to get a tattoo, why would it be a firefly? And why right there in the dead center of your chest?
Are you sure it wasn't a love bug?
It may have been. It could have been. Look, I don't know. I thought for a little while it was a mosquito. Then I realized that it was a firefly.
It's just stop, people. Just stop.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you are hopelessly ugly, you don't need all that damn graffiti. And Carson Beck, what the hell are you thinking with a sleeve? Oh, jeez. Calm down, Bortz.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool.
It's so cool. And I tell you what, if I and I won't ever be an employer again, never. Well, I might a gardener. Wait a minute, we don't have a gardener. We don't have a garden. But neck or face tattoos, forget it. Do not apply. Don't want you around. No freaking way. And that goes for, I can't wait for the weather to get cold and he'll put on some damn long sleeves so you won't have to see that disgusting display during the Georgia game. And speaking of disgusting displays, how about the Aggies on Saturday night?
I thought about you for a moment when they were having a little trouble with that Notre Dame offense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that quarterback, whatever the hell his name is, he couldn't hit the inside of a barn.
No, he could not.
if he was standing there. So, I mean,
Bortzy watching a lot of ball this weekend. Goodness,
I only watch college football. That's it. I haven't watched a professional game in over 5 years. After that Colin Kaepernick or whatever his name is pulled his little stunt. So no, none of that. No. Hey, did you hear about our mayor down here in Naples?
I missed that. I was tied up watching college football.
I was too busy watching tats.
That's right. I was on tattoos on TV.
Yeah, she's a little blonde chickie poo that used to work for Revlon or something like that. Anyway,
I'm going to look her up right now.
Yeah, well, she went out and she imbibed a little bit. I forget what. I think it was Friday night, Saturday night, or what have you. And anyway, somebody, she thinks somebody cut her off at a roundabout. We got a lot of roundabouts down here. And so she followed them home and chased them home, I should say, and then parked. After running over their mailbox, parked in the middle of their yard. And we're going to call the police. She said, go ahead and call the police. I'm the mayor. They're not going to do anything.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Don't
boy.
You know who I am? That line is never good to drop.
I love the responses to that, though, that the police are using like now. Do you know who my father is? Well, your mother didn't tell you?
That's important to know. It is.
Yeah, and then the other one is, giving a ticket to some hot young chick. I thought you didn't give tickets to pretty girls. We don't. Sign here.
Just a slap in the face. So this lady, though, she's pled not guilty to DUI charges.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what I'm seeing on Naples Daily News.
Yeah, and now she's not going to say anything else.
No, this is probably smart. Like Kamala Harris, don't say anything so they can't get anything on you.
Yeah, I mean, you're a lawyer, Neil. Would you tell her? What would you tell her?
What would I tell her? Shut the hell up. I only in my legal career handled one criminal case. One. And it was a nationally known celebrity who happened to be in Atlanta, and he got picked up DUI, and he was Obama-faced, let me tell you. And he wanted me to represent him, and he wanted to go to jury. Okay. He wanted a jury trial. And so, to my ever-loving shame, I got a not guilty verdict for him on that.
Can you tell us who it was? I'm curious.
No,
now.
hell no.
All right.
Oh, you just want... Look, the attorney-client privilege is forever. You know, okay. But anyway...
I figured to be a celebrity is probably in the newspaper somewhere.
It might be.
Oh.
Yeah, try. Look it up.
I'll do my best.
But he's now Tango uniform. So
well.
What the hell? But I've talked to Donna about it. I felt guilty about it. I said, Donna, this guy might go out and do it again and kill somebody. And she said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm just never, ever going to represent a drunk driver again. In fact, I'm never going to do criminal defense work because, due to my notoriety around here, I might get a guilty person set free and they hurt somebody else. I'm not going to be responsible for that. So that was it.
I got to tell you, that's a strategy I don't think most people would take, and I applaud you for that, man. You went with your conscience. You did what your conscience told you, not what your pocketbook told you.
Well, these people deserve a defense.
Of course,
I think defense lawyers do. They perform an extremely important function.
100%.
Because they are the ones that make the government jump through all of the hoops before they can take away somebody's life or liberty. But I don't want to play the game anymore. Not me. No more. No. By the way, speaking of criminals, I've expanded my new criminal code, the board's criminal code, that says if you're caught shoplifting, they ought to be able to take a poor person, let them go into your house and take anything they want.
Yes, I love these.
I just expanded that slightly. If you caught grabbing a package off of somebody's porch and you're caught, then that person ought to be able to go into your home and take any damn thing they want, and it's theirs.
Oh, I like that idea.
Okay, all right. But look, I don't know that it's going to pass. You're going to have a hard time getting that through. But I mean, I'm not against it.
What if we did one of those, the game show, and I forget what it is, what's behind curtain 3, 2, 1? Yeah. What if we did a box, and they have to pick the box? One of them has, a freedom, the other 3 are bombs. Yeah.
I like that. Oh, by the way, which one of you is going to tell me the difference between imply and infer? I heard you talking about that.
NBC News said that one of their hosts implied that Kamala Harris was at an event. She was not.
They said
it. That's exactly right. There was no implying anything. They stated it straightforward. We played the audio to prove it, and then they came out with a tweet later saying the same thing. Well, we implied, and that's not. They lied on both counts. They were lying about lying.
Well, listen to my commentary this morning.
Okay.
A little bit later on.
Okay.
One of my favorites. I mean, make it an evergreen. Run it all week long. Anyway, the media is 96% behind Kamala Harris in this election, and you're going to see it in their coverage. You're going to see it in everything they do.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and we always have, and we always nothing new. Nobody should be surprised, but I do think it's worth pointing out when they say something, and then they try to cover their tracks. But that's the thing; it's like burying it on the last page of the newspaper back in the day. Is what they did, knowing that nobody would see it, and then the rest of the people who agreed with it and were okay with it still believe that she was probably there.
The Naples Daily News you referenced in them. That's owned by
USA Today. Yeah, you can see all the whole layout of the website. Yes, you can tell.
They came down here, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and Naples Daily News said, we need a new headquarters. They built this absolutely gorgeous building with the state-of-the-art press imported from Germany and all and that was Just, what brilliant people. That was just at the time that newspapers were already swirling around the toilet. And so finally, they actually had to break up the press and sell it for scrap metal and sold the building to the local hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's USA standard, but I notice a lot now that they just cannot bring themselves to use the word black when it comes to a crime story. They will say that not the suspect was black or the suspect was African American. The suspect had a dark complexion.
Yeah.
Can you... Okay, speaking of suspects, when is the world going to get together and rid civilization of Hamas and Hezbollah?
Well, it depends. If you ask Joe Biden, it's Israel's fault. They've not done enough.
It's amazing. They execute 6 hostages. Why? Because they were going to be rescued. We can't let them be rescued. Let's kill them. And the world is protesting the people that were trying to rescue them.
That's insane.
Yep. Yeah, having things upside down. Islam, I know there are a lot of perfectly nice, peace-loving Muslims, and they'll stay that way until their percentage of the population reaches critical mass, at which point it's death to the infidels. Mm-hmm. And if I don't know what's going to happen down the road if this scourge isn't stopped now. It's not a religion, it's a cult. It was created by some rag picker in the middle of the desert who got bored one day. And I had to be put in police protective custody one time, me and Donna, because of some things I said about Muslims, specifically the Ayatollah Khomeini, who, when he was in exile in Paris, France, he actually wrote that it was perfectly fine for Muslim men to have sex with domestic house cats.
What? Oh, I must have missed that one. Good Lord.
Well, you're not as old as I am.
Yeah, I missed that.
Not wildcats.
Yeah, domestic. Only domestic.
We got standards around here.
Absolutely. Wildcats fight back.
We don't want anybody scratching the old Muslim whatever.
Yeah.
But what's weird, Neil, to me is that everybody wants to get on Netanyahu and Israel and everyone else, but the only group that refused to get to the table and talk about a ceasefire was Hamas, and now we know why, because they don't want to stop. They're not going to stop. There's no ceasefire in a holy war. That there's nothing that the United States or any other country can do to step in and say, hey, you guys need to have a ceasefire as long as terrorists are involved.
I mean, how many times in the history of this so-called Palestinian-Israeli brouhaha, how many times have the Israelis said, okay, here's the deal. You can have your own state. We're ready. We've reached an agreement. Here's your state. You're giving you everything you asked for. And then at that point, Yasser Arafat, who was Egyptian, by the way, said, no, we don't want it.
Well, Bill Clinton even said that himself. We played the audio. Bill saying they do not want a Palestinian state.
They don't. They want turmoil.
And they liable to get it. That's what it seems to be happening right now on the campus of Columbia University. There seems to be an Israeli strike on Hezbollah. We'll get an update on that at the top of the hour with Fox News here on Extra 106.3. When we come back, European-style censorship is possible in the United States of America. And it could happen as soon as November 5th, next on the Morning Extra until 10. Hey, it's Tug. The Morning Extra has you covered from 6 to 10, and Kimmer's got you on the ride home.
Jen Psaki, holy cow, Jen Psaki's a former White House liar, now a liar for MSNBC. And they were talking and gabbling and bickering about all the things that these ladies do. And they were she was talking about how she would compare Hillary Rodham P. Stinky Fart Cabbage with Vice President Cleopatra. Cut number 1, sir.
This magical, charismatic quality in person. So do a lot of politicians. People say that about Hillary Clinton. Also true.
Holy moly! Magical, charismatic quality in person like Hillary?
If you say it enough, somebody's going to believe it, I guess. Yeah.
They just keep saying this stuff.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. Well, at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this philosophy. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for the required service. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, over 50 appointments on Saturdays, and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet, we're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2023 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience and Georgia's only 9-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best winner. We're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor for details.
Veterans are eager to transfer their skills and experiences to civilian life, but need a trusted resource to navigate life beyond military service. The Warrior Alliance is changing thousands of lives for the better and needs your support to expand our impact. Join us for an exciting fundraising program, followed by an Atlanta Braves baseball private event on Friday, September 13th. Special guests include powerful veteran testimonies, Atlanta Braves alumnus Sid Bream, and Drivin' and Cryin's Kevin Kinney. Individual tickets and VIP tables are on sale now at thewarrioralliance.org.
Atlanta, it's Mark from Atlanta Safe House. The Safe House crew hopes everyone is enjoying their vacation this summer. We know the criminals are watching and waiting for you to leave so they can bust in and steal your stuff. But hey, there is a solution. Come purchase a quality safe from Atlanta Safe House. And with summer rebates and specials, you can save hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a quality safe. And remember, don't let an illegal or crackhead deliver or move your safe. They could very well know your combination. So drop by the showroom or go to atlantasafehouse.com.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
What's the mystery behind Mystery Valley Golf Course? Is it the fact that it's been voted one of Atlanta's must-play courses? Or is it the fact that it's conveniently located from anywhere in Atlanta? Or maybe it's because Mystery Valley has recently renovated the course, adding all new tipped Bermuda putting greens, upgrading all 66 sand bunkers, and improving the clubhouse and amenities all around. No matter what it is, Mystery Valley Golf Club has been a staple of the Atlanta golf community for many years, and it reopened with the new renovations. Now is the perfect opportunity to make a tee time and enjoy a round of golf at Mystery Valley, located next to Stone Mountain in Lithonia, taking all of the beautiful natural scenery while enjoying a fantastic round of golf. Go to MysteryValleyGolfCourse.com to book tee times. But one question will always remain: how did Mystery Valley get its name?
Keep up with all of our shows and the latest headlines by following Xtra 106.3 on Instagram, X, Facebook, Truth Social, and all your social media platforms. Plus exclusive giveaways and more. So follow now at XTRA 106.3.
I told you what was going to happen, and it has happened. The case that Isaac Hayes III brought against Donald Trump over using his father's song at rallies. That has basically been dismissed. The judge ruled that the 50 campaign videos in question do not need to be taken down. No monetary damages were awarded in the case. Told you. I told you what was coming. And now you got other artists that are suing. Jack White and all kinds of other people are like, oh, we're suing.
Won't matter.
Good luck, man.
You signed the rights over.
You got no leg to stand on.
This is so different. They signed the rights over to these basically these distribution companies, and they're getting paid. And so your music now is not really your, I mean, you wrote it, you did it, you performed it, but you can't say who gets to use it now.
No, because it is owned by a different entity altogether whose stated goal is to make a whole bunch of money off your music catalog. That's why they gave you a whole bunch of money for it. It's so easy.
But from what I read, that Donald Trump and the entire campaign as nice as they are, said, you know what, if you don't want us using the music, we won't use it anymore. So they won't be using it anymore. But they're not going to win any money in this.
That's exactly right.
You know,
Which
they're
is
going
the
to
point.
appeal. Yeah, they're going to appeal. They're going to try to keep going after $3 million. They're just not going to get it. But you know what? Donald Trump was nice enough to say, hey, we won't use it. And that's it. It's done.
Yeah, it is. It's been that way. The minute I read this, I brought it to the show. The minute I read this, I was like, okay, this is done and over with. This is pointless. This is stupid to even bring up. But so much of lawfare is, because it's more about how do I drain somebody dry. Typically, Donald Trump's got more money than most. How do I drain somebody dry? And that way they can't fight. I've seen it happen with businesses going after individuals. They know they don't have standing in the court, but they'll use the law to make someone use every penny they have in the bank defending themselves, knowing that eventually they'll have to give up, so they don't even have to win the award. They don't even have to win the trial to begin with. It's terrible when it happens that way. It's people manipulating the way the legal system is supposed to work, but they do it, and relatively often. So European-style censorship, man, that is possible in the United States. I guess I should add, Los, Brazilian-style censorship as well. But this could be here as close and as soon as November 5th.
Free speech is such an important factor when it comes to just having a regular, healthy republic. And so when you look at what's happening in Brazil decided, well, there's too much free speech going on, so we're going to make sure that X is not going to be allowed in this country. And they went ahead and curtailed it. You've seen this in other Soviet-style, Chinese-style countries. Don't want to have free speech. Let's make sure that people can't access Twitter, otherwise known as X as well. And so I want you to take a listen to Kamala Harris. This was over the weekend. And again, you let this woman talk, you find out more about her, it hurts her poll numbers. Take a listen to her view of social media, most notably X, because remember, that's now where most news now goes through. Everything kind of runs through that area, and free speech, that's now the home of it. Take a listen to what she thinks about places like X and social media.
He has lost his privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
Oversight and regulation.
Exactly. It's cringeworthy. Those words are cringeworthy.
Communist style. It is pointing out Elon Musk won't play ball with us, so we have to take this thing down.
And the beauty was, Rhino, is that Elon Musk was like, I'm just going to let Starlink run in Brazil. We'll give people VPN access that I normally charge, what is it, $500 a month or whatever it is. I'm going to let that just be the rule of the day. Since I can't make money off of it because of the government, I'm just going to give it to everybody. And then what does the Brazilian government do? They fold up like a cheap suit because they knew they could not stop it.
Yeah, then they're not going to be able to stop it. And, one of the things that she kind of says in that is that they're able to get out there, meeting the social media companies or meeting Donald Trump, not them. Do we want to go ahead and look at all the misinformation that the Harris campaign has put out there? Absolutely. I get it. But at the same time, this is about the people. The people are the ones making the messages. The people are the ones out there saying what they feel and how they feel about these candidates. And you're trying to take away that right from the American people and from the Brazilian people or people all over the world. You're taking away the right from people for free speech, not the government control that they want. And that's the danger of what she's saying.
What X is offering you now is a complete picture rather than an audio snippet. And I'll point out that what's airing on our airwaves right now is not only gross, but it's partly funny if you know the rest of it. When you hear the Kamala Harris ads that take small snippets of Trump and then like, oh, he's going to be a dictator. Look at Project 2025. Again, small snippets of stuff. Whereas on X, you get the full 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and you go, okay, that's what the context of the entire discussion was. This is starting small. Like, if you didn't see what the FCC ruling was basically over the last 72 hours, was that a system like Starlink, which is used by the U.S. Navy in order to provide internet access to our service people, you had the FCC basically rule under the Biden-Harris administration that it was not going to be viable to provide rural Americans internet access. yet it's doing that across the world in 99 countries.
Exactly
this
right.
is how they're going after this man because of free speech.
It's kind of like a lawfare tactic, you know what I mean?
Yes.
How do we use the government's power and ability to influence?
It would be, Rhino, it would be like suddenly saying, from a government standpoint, and they've already done this, you know that Elon Musk, he really can't create an electric vehicle.
Right.
He can't send us to space.
No. Except we actually have to use his rocket to go get the Boeing one that we paid for.
Yeah, we need to use private industry because you know what we've taken from public funds and created with NASA, we have to use that money now to pay Elon Musk. Well, why not let Elon Musk do that? Why not let private industry do that? But that's what they want, is control, government control over everyone and what they say and what they think. And it's such a dangerous precedent to set. I don't care what people say. If I was going to crack down and I was really, into this, then I'd be cracking down on the people in New York right now, going in front of Jewish schools and attacking Jewish people. That's maybe what we should be focusing on, not the fact that somebody says, hey, here's Kamala Harris and this is why she's lying. Here's Coach Walls and this is why he's lying.
Buddy, and he does that often and well.
Really well.
The dude does it like nobody I've ever seen. I'm not trying to change the subject.
He doesn't do it well. He you know who does it well? The media. Everybody else covering for him. Yes.
That's a fair point, but
he's getting caught every single time he lies.
Right, but only on X will you see it, because you're not going to see it on any of those other platforms that are able to be suppressed by the government, and obviously the mainstream media, 96% of them are not going to show you the flip of the story. It's like Lo said, with X, you get the whole picture versus just the snippet. And you can see his fibs over and over and over again. And speaking of his fibs, let's keep it on him for a little bit, because we have a China problem from New York to L.A., all across America, and with a major stop in Minnesota. That discussion next on the Morning Extra. Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. Then Beck, Clay, and Buck, local afternoon show with the Kimmer, 3 until 6, Jesse Kelly, and rounding out the evening with Fox Across America and Jimmy Fallon.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's the Kimmer. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Now, we have a drug problem in this country, both illegal and legal drugs. You watch these advertisements and you get the impression that all you have to do to have a wonderful life is just take this drug. You'll spend your days on ski slopes or the mountains, maybe laying around on the beach. Your hair will always look perfect. You'll have a clean, smooth complexion. Your family life will be wonderful. You'll have more friends than you can count. Your kids won't be fat. Everything is just beautiful. All you have to do is take this drug. And we watch these ads and we sit back and wonder why we have a drug problem. Illegal drugs. Can't you see the thought processes in these kids? Take drugs, happy life.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
CETA Information Networking Computing USA, Inc. seeks senior technical analyst in Atlanta, Georgia. Provide technical implementation and support for a number of software modules within an application suite. Responsible for gathering, managing, and analyzing requirements to design new application changes for own areas of responsibility, ensuring sufficient effort is made to promote vanilla functionality. Must be willing to travel domestically 25% and internationally 25%. This is a fully remote position that can be performed from anywhere in the U.S. Email resume to roberto.bonilla@sita.aero.
Democracy 24.
Just north of downtown Denver is Colorado's 8th congressional district. Voters there sounding off on what top issue will decide their vote.
We spend way too much money on illegal aliens that come across the border.
The cost of living is just so high.
In the 8th district, Democratic incumbent Yadira Caraveo is competing against Republican Gabe Evans. The 8th district is one of 19 toss-up districts that could be crucial in determining who controls the House after November's election. Other districts are in 2024 battleground states like Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Political science professor Kyle Saunders says President Biden stepping aside and Vice President Harris, now as the Democratic nominee, could impact how some key House races play out on Election Day.
Prior to the change that the Democratic Party made between Biden and Harris, Democrats were very, very unexcited about the election.
In Thornton, Colorado, Kennedy Hayes, Fox News.
The Kimmer Show is only on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home.
President John F. Kennedy would have hated today's Democrat Party. John F. Kennedy was a business. He said what's good for General Motors is good for America. He was a whole different kind of Democrat. And he would be proud of Robert Kennedy Jr.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Pitching tax breaks for small businesses. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Vice President Harris will do in New Hampshire today, less than 9 weeks before the election.
A big expansion of small business tax credits, proposing deductions for startup expenses increase from $5,000 to as much as $50,000. The tax plan is part of achieving a goal, her campaign says, of 25 million new small business applications in her first term.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. Former President Trump will hold a town hall on Fox News Channel tonight in Pennsylvania, the day after the former president lost his attempt to get the New York criminal case. He was already convicted and moved to federal court.
Federal Judge Alvin Hellerstein says former President Trump has failed to satisfy the burden of proof required for the federal court system to take control of the state's case. The former president was convicted of falsifying business records in Manhattan. Trump's legal team has asked the state judge, Juan Merchan, to overturn the verdict because of the Supreme Court's immunity ruling.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. For now, sentencing is 2 weeks from today. Ukraine's foreign minister has resigned. Dmytro Kuleba's exit as Russian attacks continue. One overnight killed 7 people in Lviv the day after a Russian missile strikes hit Poltava and left more than 50 Ukrainians dead in the war. The U.S. has charged 6 Hamas militants for the October 7th attack that triggered the war, though there are 3 already dead and the others are somewhere in Gaza.
The Justice Department has a long memory. We will pursue the terrorists responsible for murdering Americans and those who illegally provide them with material support for the rest of their lives.
Attorney General Merrick Garland, a Phoenix police officer, is in critical condition, shot last night in Arizona, along with another officer who was saved by a bulletproof vest. The suspect's in custody. This after a deputy was killed in Houston, Texas, shot in his car on his way to work.
By the person who walked out of their car and shot at the victim or the deputy.
Police Chief Noe Diaz, a person of interest in custody. America's listening to Fox News.
In theaters now, Reagan returns to office.
We are the greatest country in the world. We have just forgotten.
You can run from a bully for so long, but after a while, you're going to have to stand up to him. I am about to start the biggest war of this century.
You told me you wanted to make a difference in this world.
What would you have me do?
I want you to fight!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Reagan in theaters now. Rated PG-13. May not be suitable for children under 13.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by September 2nd, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
This is Tucker Carlson, and you're listening to The Morning Extra with Tug, Rhino, and Los on Extra 106.3.
We have a China problem in America. This is bigger than anybody realizes. You probably heard Kathy Hochul's former deputy chief of staff is charged with being a Chinese agent. Her name is Linda Sun. Her husband also is part of this investigation. His name is Christopher Hu, violating and conspiring to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which Hunter Biden apparently is able to do that. Now, Mrs. Linda Sun, not so much. But it just goes to the deeper problem. Visa fraud and then alien smuggling, money laundering, and just conspiracy overall. Now, you think probably this is some sort of isolated incident, but I promise you it is not. The Chinese government are always recruiting and paying people to influence the work that they do in the United States around and at the same time working for them directly. So Linda Sun had a house that was about, $5 million, $4.5 million. She had a house with her husband in Hawaii, and they also were driving a Ferrari. This is a woman that was...
Is that a giveaway?
If it's not, it should be. If it's not, it should be. Here's the thing. This is happening up and down the political ladder. Think about Hunter Biden and the laptop that told us that Joe Biden was making money and getting paid. So was the Biden family from the Chinese. That is all on that laptop. Now, take it a step further. I want to connect the dots a little bit. I want you to consider Tim Walz, the man that would be running for vice president with Kamala Harris, would be, if elected, entering into the White House with where I believe corruption is already happening with the Biden family. And the Biden laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop, again, would tell you that. So, Tim Walz, I'm not saying he's done anything wrong, but I promise you he has been recruited the same way that Linda Sun has. He taught in China in 1989 and 90. He promoted the CCP to his students. He even told his students while they were in China not to talk about democracy, not to talk about the United States of America. He's visited China 30 plus times. He speaks Mandarin. He got married in China on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. He did his honeymoon in China. If there was a person ripe for the picking, someone that would be a spotlight to the Chinese government saying, hey, let's see how much we can pay this person to get them to work on our side, to get them to be a double agent for us. I'm not saying he's done it, but he would be ripe for the picking. I'm telling you, man, this is a deep, deep problem. Think about the illegal police stations that we had, 7 of them. And 4 of the 7 were in Minnesota and California. Where are the heads of the Democrat Party, the people that are running for office, for president and vice president? Where are they from? California, Minnesota. I know that's not hard evidence, but boy, it sure does paint a desperate and dark image of what the Chinese are trying to do in the United States.
Well, Tug, don't forget, too, that, in San Francisco, when it was a mess, they cleaned up the streets, lined it with Chinese flags, and Gavin Newsom was the first to welcome them and give them a parade throughout San Francisco. So there is a lot of concern about what the Chinese are infiltrating into our country. Not to mention, we didn't even mention the fake weather balloons that were actually spy satellites.
Sure.
These are things that have been happening all the time, and I love that you brought up the police stations all over. And that was such a shock to a lot of people, but was it? And we know what's happening at the border. We know why the border's open. How quick can they get to California? Chinese nationals have come through that border at record rates during the Biden-Harris administration.
Distinctly, this is a Democrat problem. All right. The late Dianne Feinstein, what did we find out? Her driver was a Chinese operative who'd been listening in on her conversations for the better part of a decade. Obviously, when you also talk about, the Chinese police stations, remember, we were discovering that you've had these Chinese infiltration areas on campuses for the better part of 20 years where Chinese students, Chinese nationals come over, and yes, they're students here, but they're reporting back to the CCP what's going on in this country. And so this is not a giant surprise when you find out that somebody who had access to Kathy Hochul is basically deflecting any sort of information from Taiwan and basically saying, yeah, that's never going to get to the desk of American officials in the interest of making sure that the Chinese, when it's time, can have an easier time of moving in on Taiwan.
Linda Sun was also using her influence to help Chinese nationals get to the United States with visas. Now, we don't know if any of those people actually qualified for the visas that they got. She was able to shield the Taiwan government, the Taiwanese, from interacting with the United States government because of her influence over the decisions, pretty much, of Kathy Hochul, and then prior to that, Governor Cuomo. So this is not an isolated incident. This is not just a one-time thing. She's been doing this in every position of government and in power that she had the opportunity to. This is so deep. There's no telling how many people have been bought and paid for inside the federal government. I would say inside the Pentagon. I would say inside the spy agencies to do work on behalf of the Chinese. This is just a one tiny little pebble in the greater boulders, giant rocks of problems that we have in the federal government.
Yeah, and let's talk about farmland that the Chinese are buying. That was part of what they were doing at the police stations. Was they were coming in, they were able to get, driver's licenses, they were able to get illegal documentation, they were able to get money, and that's what the important part was. They were handing them money. They were going out to buy land, and that's big time. That's why you see people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas who said, "Hey, we're going to cut off the purchase of any kind of land to Chinese nationals." That's why you've seen what they were doing up in Montana and other areas where they're going to get these land grabs. That should be very concerning. But where are those farms? They're all next to military installations as well. So this should be a big concern. It should be. But what happens? As soon as everybody gets the story about all of the Chinese little stations and police stations all around, it goes away. The news stopped covering it. It went away as quick as it showed up, and that's a concern to me.
And it always does. You're exactly right, because the mainstream media has no problem with it, because whatever the Democrats are in favor of, so is the mainstream media. I want to bring up another thing. Remember when Joe Biden, between his vice presidency and then ultimate presidency, he was a leader of the Biden Center initiative there at UPenn. Y'all remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Received millions of dollars from anonymous Chinese sources. Just a uptick in donation when Joe Biden was involved at UPenn. That is according to the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. They know it. Everybody knows it. This is one of those open. It's almost like Joe Biden being demented, right? The fact that he had dementia. It was an open. Everybody understood it. It wasn't a lie being said out loud in the open all the time, and yet it was reported like it wasn't. It wasn't happening. It was a known lie. Everybody knew that he was in bad shape, just like everybody knew that money was pouring into UPenn when he was there. Only people that are talking about it or ever reported it was the House Oversight Committee. That's it.
Yeah, and think about what was left at, the Biden Penn Center, classified documents in these areas that the Chinese had full access to. So when we sit here, we talk and we play games on one side saying, oh my God, Trump had stuff locked up in Mar-a-Lago. We don't even go back to the Chinese nationals that were at Penn and Biden Penn Center and going through all of that. We don't know what they've got, what they were handed maybe. Well, it's a very dangerous thing to talk about. It's a very dangerous thing to, go down that path, because where are we going to head with this? And this is why the Chinese are so afraid of Donald Trump. This is why Iran is so afraid of Donald Trump, because there's only one person that's standing up, it seems, to say, hey, no more. They're not going to be here. We're going to put tariffs on them. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And other people are getting afraid of what Donald Trump's going to do. No, I'm afraid of what we're allowing to happen.
That's exactly right. I'm telling you, there will be at some point.
Don't forget Fang Fang either.
Oh, yes. How could we forget Fang Fang, Los? I mean, you have to laugh about it or you'll cry, because it's so jarring that we would allow something like this to happen in the United States and with regularity.
She just had bedroom access to somebody who was sitting on the intelligence committee, but whatever.
Yeah, but that's the one we know about. How many are there? How many more Fang Fangs? Or how many people did she influence?
It's real. Honeypots are real. They're used all around the world. This is not anything that's a surprise. If you want to know about the whole Epstein thing, Epstein Island, okay, that was a honeypot island. Okay, like, this is what we do. This is what intelligence communities do, and that's what the Chinese have been doing to us for years now.
Get ready, y'all. There is problems abound in D.C., and the Chinese, the number one sworn enemy of the United States of America, is infiltrating your government. And November 5th is a make or break election. It really is. I know it gets said. I know that's been tossed around a million times. I've never felt like this in my entire life, where if one party wins, the United States is done as you know it. You're voting on systems. Forget who the person is at the top of the ticket, because it doesn't matter. You're voting on systems. Do you want America the way you've known it, or at least similar to what you've known it as? Or do you want the system that the Democrats push forward, which is socialism and communism?
It's been very simple. I think that if I was to put it out on Twitter, or to even just to tell my wife, it's like you have two choices. You have global communists, or you have freedom nationalists. And that's it. Those are the two. And the freedom nationalists are under attack all around the world.
That's right, they are.
Yeah. And let's not forget about TikTok. You know, Mark Ledford, who's a good listener watching on YouTube, says, think about the Chinese and you ain't heard nothing about TikTok anymore. And that's true. Look at the way they use TikTok to infiltrate our youth and to really just spread propaganda and lies about what's going on in the world. This is why we had to go to ByteDance and say, hey, enough's enough. We're not going to allow this to get back to the CCP. You either sell the company or we get rid of it. We had to take TikTok, a social media platform, off of government officials' phones. They weren't allowed to use it for good reason. They have infiltrated every part of our country, every part of our society, and they will continue to do so until they reign supreme.
That's exactly right. And that is the goal, 100% the goal. And you have the cyber attacks from agencies or hacking groups like Volt Typhoon that are happening in the United States and have happened in the United States and will continue to happen in the United States. And at this point, it doesn't look like the United States is prepared for what could come. And that's why you had the federal government a few months back go, well, just be prepared. Look, this is something that could happen. We're not able to stop it. We want you to know that way. We're saying this, that as a CYA, that way when it does happen and we're in chaos, y'all can't say we didn't tell you. That's all it's about. It's nothing to do with actually stopping what could possibly happen. Man, I'm telling you, we have a major problem with China. And it is underreported and been underestimated until now. We're not going to let it be that way. We're going to talk about it here on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Rhino, Politico realizes that their polling is in bad shape. We talked about this a little bit in the last hour.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I thought you had more on that.
Oh, no. Yeah, just
we did talk about this a little bit, you know, and right now Politico is kind of panicking, and they just put out, do not trust the election forecast. Do not trust any of the models, especially the 538 model, which we know is, you know, one of the ones that everybody goes to because they think, hey, this is a really good model. But what they're finding out is that they've made an adjustment to its model, which have now made it look like Kamala Harris is leading in a lot of these polls, but they don't believe that is correct and that the data isn't correct in this. And they, you know, it's what we talk about all the time. Carlos has done a good job about it. I talk about it all the time. When you go into these internals, you have to start looking at who they're polling, who they're talking to. And it's not just, you know, hey, men, women. It's also Republican, Democrat. It's also age. It's also, there's so many race and everything else that they break down. When you start breaking them down, you look and you go, okay, well, yeah, it would make sense that they're winning by this percentage point because of this model. But in reality, if we took this model and did it 50-50, would it still be that way? So the aggregate polling data that they use is probably not good enough for the candidate winning the election. And now they're really afraid that they've been pushing, and the media's been pushing, that Kamala Harris is leading in all these polls.
Well, look it up. What a good sample is. A good sample when it comes to statistics is when everyone has an equal opportunity of being selected. The problem is with polling, and this is where the internals get so important, and this is where when you drill down gets so important, they are having a hard time capturing African-American men. They're having a hard time capturing Gen Z. They're having a hard time capturing these groups that have, when you poll them independently, are turning decidedly more towards the right. And so, yeah, you go in, you say, hey, I ended up grabbing 1,000 people. I grabbed 2,000 people and I polled them. Well, the sample size is quality. It's what you want. But the demographics is the problem. And that's where, when the internals are coming together, that's when they start to go, oh man, we are not weighing what's really going on with this. Similar to 2022, we didn't recognize that Gen Z was going to basically curtail the red wave. Now they're the ones that are primarily upset with the economy and how life is.
Imagine
they're blaming Biden-Harris for that.
Living with what you voted for. Imagine having to do
that.
That's crazy when it works out that way. But I would take that a step further. With everyday lily white bread people. Like, when's the last time y'all were participating in a poll? Because 9 times out of 10, they're using the phone. I don't answer a number that I don't recognize. Board Op Goey Virgin River brought up, well, maybe they're doing some sort of internet polling. Click here. Dude, I'm not clicking on anything. I asked some of the people this weekend what they had done. Have y'all participated in any of this stuff? None of them have. There were 10 of us hanging out. Not one person had participated, and probably 9 of the 10 are voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and a lot of these polls, what they're talking about in Politico and why they're so worried is obviously Kamala Harris is leading. And a lot of these polls, people see these election forecasts and they sit back and they decide, hey, you know what? I'm not going to vote. I don't need to vote. She's going to win with 58% of the vote, which also means she's going to win, handily in the Electoral College. And they don't equate. But the other thing that they're realizing is that they take up all these polls, and they're pundit polls. They're not actual polls. So when the pundits put in their own kind of projections, that gets factored in, and that's what's making these polls seem like very favorable for Kamala Harris, when in reality, and they break down the polls individually, it looks like Trump is going to win a lot of these states.
She told you what you needed to know over the weekend when she got up in front of one of the unions and said, we're underdogs. Because their internal polling is telling them we're having trouble in the swing states. Not having trouble in California, not having trouble in Illinois.
No.
They're having trouble in the states they need to win, where they're looking at it like, how are we behind in Pennsylvania? Well, you should have picked the governor.
Maybe.
That whole anti-Semitism thing just seems to be a bit of a problem
for a
within
lot
your
of
party.
people. For a lot of people recognize it and have a problem with it.
The lack of policies happen to be a little bit of a problem.
Also, the reason why Kamala Harris and the Democrats have said, hey, we're going to take $25 million out of our run for the candidacy, and we're going to send it down ballot because we're afraid we're not going to win this election, and we need to win as many seats in the House and Senate as we possibly can.
Morning Extra and Extra 106.3, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. You're right, Kamala Harris isn't going to lose California. And I wouldn't think she's going to lose New York either. But I'll tell you, those folks in Brooklyn are singing an unexpected MAGA tune, much to mine and everybody else's surprise. We'll let you hear them in their own words next on Extra 106.3.
Extra 106.3 is the only station in Atlanta to bring you unedited news, information, and updates. With an all-star lineup of local and network voices, Extra is committed to being the station you need during the biggest election of our lifetime.
This presidential election is unlike any other.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station is Extra 106.3 FM, and listen across Georgia on the Extra app.
Back to school means back to traffic in Atlanta. If traffic mishaps land you in trouble with the law, it's important to know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds. We handle bonds from local to federal for any jail in any city. And in most cases, we can have you or your loved one out in a matter of hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT. That's 404-BAIL-OUT. Or online at atlbail.com.
One of the hardest things to do is to walk away from a paycheck. As retirement planners, Masterplan knows how hard it can be to pull the trigger on your own retirement. Don't go it alone. Masterplan is a holistic retirement planning firm that works with you to create a retirement plan to help maximize your golden years. Through income planning and money management, legacy planning, and tax planning, we create a plan specifically designed for your life. Enter retirement with confidence. Contact Masterplan to analyze your retirement outlook and create a plan that's right for you. All initial consultations are complimentary, so contact us today and begin your pursuit towards peace of mind. Visit masterplanretire.com. Masterplan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Masterplan Retirement Consultants Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates Inc., DBA Masterplan Retirement Consulting. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Get ready for unfiltered conversations on The Janelle King Show, where we tackle the topics that you won't hear at your family gatherings, but they're absolutely crucial for a strong republic. Don't miss us live every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3. But if you can't tune in, that's okay. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Join us for these discussions, and I can't wait to meet you there.
Your Atlanta Braves are down to the final few series of the regular season, and they need you at Truist Park when the Dodgers come to town, September 13th through the 16th, followed by the Mets, September 24th through the 26th. Fans can look forward to some great giveaways, including the kids' rubber shoe charms for the first 3,000 kids, and the City Connect replica jersey presented by Xfinity for the first 15,000 fans. Visit Braves.com/promos to purchase tickets starting at $9. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
This is House Call for Health. Catching up on sleep over the weekend is not only rejuvenating, it may have an unexpected benefit, lowering your risk of heart disease. A new study says the risk of cardiac disease fell by about 20% for people who slept in on the weekends to make up for sleep loss during the week. Scientists also say people should focus on sleep quality over quantity and recommend limiting alcohol and caffeine intake, managing how much liquid you drink in general before turning in, and reducing screen time before bed. The researchers compiled data from more than 90,000 people, with more than 19,000 of them categorized as sleep deprived, defined as having fewer than 7 hours of sleep per night. The study was presented this past weekend at the European Society of Cardiology Congress in London, where hopefully everyone got enough sleep. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
All right, here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, September 4th. State Democrats are appealing a ruling by Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger that allows independent presidential candidate Cornel West and socialist candidate Claudio de la Cruz on the ballot in November's election. Raffensperger stated that both West and de la Cruz cleared the 7,500 petition signature hurdle, allowing them to be on the ballot. The challenges are part of a national effort to block minor presidential candidates from taking votes away from Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. A FedEx driver was injured and hospitalized after he drove his truck into a Gwinnett County home. Neighbors said that the driver lost control after coming around a corner and swerved to avoid improperly parked vehicles before hitting a mailbox and then crashing into the residence. According to Gwinnett Fire, no one from the home was injured. The driver is expected to recover after being thrown from the truck and rushed to the hospital. And in sports, Chris Sale reached 200 strikeouts and earned his 16th win after pitching 7 strong innings, leading the Braves to a 3-0 win over the Colorado Rockies last night at Truist Park. Sale won his 6th straight game and remains the leading contender for the NL Cy Young. Charlie Morton will look to keep the momentum going tonight at 7:20 when the two teams meet in Game 2. You can catch all the action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law. When you're in an accident, make the right call, vansantlaw.com. Going back to what Rhino was just talking about, Chris Sale said the only goal there is playing this game is winning a World Series. Yeah. I like the way he sounds. I like the way he's talking. And this is, I guess, the 8th time of his career that he's gotten to 200 strikeouts, man. This dude is ridiculous.
He's a monster.
Just staying healthy. I mean, that's all it's been for him.
He's going to win Cy Young in the NL, and he's going to be your Game 1 starter as long as you get there.
As long as you get there. You got to get there.
Gotta get there.
All right, Extra 106.3, we want you to help us adopt a duck in support of Special Olympics of Georgia and its athletes. Special Olympics of Georgia is currently offering rubber ducky adoptions, where your donation not only gets you registered for some great prizes, but will support and help send athletes to the games. There are only a few ducks left in this race that you can adopt, and it needs to be done by September 18th. So you got about 14 days, about 2 weeks. Adopt a duck. Support Georgia Special Olympians at duckrace.com/Atlanta. That's duckrace.com/Atlanta. We talked about in the last segment how it's not California that Kamala Harris has got to worry about. It's not, states like that. She's going to win California in a landslide. I mean, it's not even close. And I would say New York probably would be the same way, but there is a little hope. I want you to hear what these these roving reporters, citizen journalists, if you'll call them that, have just been going around talking to people, and their answers were surprising.
Trump or Kamala? Trump. Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala? Trump or Kamala? Oh, I don't vote. What? Why don't you vote? I don't know. Trump or Kamala? After you finish your sausage.
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
What's your deciding factor?
Because I care about this whole entire borough of New York City and the whole entire United States.
He's not the liar they tell us he was, right?
Absolutely not.
Why Trump?
Trump, because he's going to bring America up, and that's it.
Trump or Kamala? Trump. Everyone that has said Kamala so far, which was maybe 10 people out of 50, have had no answer, no explanation, no logical reasoning behind it. What do you make of that?
She hasn't answered a question since she's been the nominee, and I don't even know how she got there.
He runs the country very well. He's done it before, and he could do it again. What's your favorite policy of his?
Close the border. And also, the gas prices were down. I had more in my paycheck.
Trump.
How come? How come? How come?
The GOAT. He's the best. We need businessmen to run this country. Capitalism is
America.
Business.
There you go, Ben. And a variety of answers. They said it was probably 5-1. Trump to Kamala Harris, and that is in Brooklyn, New York. And Rhino, I mean, you're from the area.
Yeah.
Are you surprised by this? Because I'll admit, I am. I know he had the rally there in was it Harlem or was it Brooklyn? I can't remember.
No, yeah, it was in Harlem.
It was in Harlem, yeah, and it was well attended, and it's encouraging and all that. But I mean, that's just a small sample size, just like that. Sure. That audio is just a small sample size. But there's people there that recognize what's happening in this country.
Yeah, I think, Brooklyn's one of those areas, and it's especially, it just depends on what side of Brooklyn you're on or what street. This is a borough that's divided, and, the one thing about New York, whether they like it or not, they're the most divided areas ever because every street starts another kind of either race, religion. It's very weird. It's a very segregated area.
And you mean like Little Italy and then,
sure.
Chinatown or whatever?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yes, exactly. So then you have Harlem, you have Spanish Harlem, you have Riverside, which is full of, Jewish members. You have the Bronx, which is Puerto Rican, which is where AOC is from. And Brooklyn is a very Italian area. They are very conservative. There are people who go to church every single Sunday. They care about their families. Abortion is an issue that they would never even touch or think about. It's something that is frowned upon in that area. So it depends on the area you go in. So I'm not surprised in Brooklyn that Trump would be 5-1 as a favorite, but I think it's more than that. I think it's others as well. I think Harlem is a different area than it used to be. When people start realizing that nobody's doing the work for them, and New York's one of those places, everything is more expensive there, especially in Brooklyn. You can't find an apartment that's less than, that's less than probably $3,000 a month, and that would be nice because it's a 500 square foot apartment. These are people
crazy.
who are spending a lot of money, and right now they can't afford that. So I think a lot of people now. Do I think that Trump will win New York? No, I don't.
No, nor do I.
Just because it's such a big area. But where it does matter, and this is why you see Jamal Bowman get thrown out, this is where you'll see Kathy Hochul, after everything that she said, she probably won't win re-election. I think it's the down ballot races that will really make a change in New York. I don't think this year it's going to happen in the presidency, but you know what? 4 years down the road, it might change.
Let me make this very simple. When they don't talk about stuff, that's what they're concerned about. When was the last time you saw a poll about minorities?
Mm-hmm.
You don't. Because this is what you're seeing. You're seeing people that are minorities in these communities, whether it's Brooklyn, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's all around the country, they realize they're getting hosed. And that's why they're not polling them anymore, because they don't want to influence the election. Most of the people that are featured in that video, they are from Harlem, and they're minorities. Mm-hmm. And yet you hear them saying these things about shutting the border down and getting the country back under control.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. People in the minority community understand the importance of a secure border and opportunity in the United States.
Nobody, you know what? I don't use this term a lot. Nobody hates illegal immigration like South Texans.
No, absolutely. Right. My buddy, my best man at my wedding,
and
Jason
many
Perez.
of them are Mexican in heritage, and they're like, we don't want any of this crap.
Jason, I'm telling you, Jason Perez, he and I served in the United States Navy together. He was my best man at my wedding. Dude, you want to talk about somebody that blows up social media with stuff just like that? He is so fed up with it, and guess what? He's moving to Florida. Because he was stationed down there for years. He was just like, I'm tired of this. I'm moving to Florida.
Yeah, the problem for New York, because again, I think it's going to be down ballot races that are going to win because Carlos is absolutely right. A lot of the minority communities are the ones going for Trump. What you have is the problem. It's much like the white suburbans here. You have Long Island. You have Midtown Manhattan, which is usually white suburban women that walk their little Yorkies around and don't care about anything else because their husbands are out making money. And these are the women that are going to go vote for Kamala Harris. If you were to go out to Long Island and ask these same questions
to working class folks.
Yeah, we're talking about people who are, white suburban women. Again, those are people who are going to just go for Kamala Harris. It's a very Democratic area there. Upstate New York, same thing. But there are parts of upstate New York where you do have farming. You do have other people who will look and go, hey, you know what? We don't want Kamala Harris. That's where you're going to see some of the numbers that are going to be really good for Republicans up there because they're worried about a lot of the down ballot races in New York more than they are the presidential because of the Electoral College.
Man, I tell you, my wife's from upstate New York. When you go up there, number one country station in Albany, New York, is a country station. I mean, it's more conservative than such a conservative group. There are more Trump flags up that way than my family members now, extended family members, because my wife and I have been married for 23 years. They send me pictures of it. They're like, dude, check this out. This is what I saw on the lake today. This is what I saw in the neighborhood. And it's not surprising to me because those folks are very, very conservative and quite country. And you don't think of it as being country like the country that I grew up with. And they're not. It's different, but it's very similar, at least in beliefs and value structure. And I appreciate that, man. I love upstate New York. Those are good folks up there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Midwest of New York. I know it's weird to say, but you know what? You have a lot more land up there, so there's less dense population. So those are the red areas. I mean, even Buffalo, when you go all the way up to Buffalo, that's a very conservative area. There are a lot of Italians that have moved up there, very conservative Italians that go to church every Sunday again, and a lot of other people up there that, again, into farming, into other things that you'd be like, hey, that's a more conservative value. But again, it's not as densely populated as downtown Manhattan, which you're going to get a lot of the blue votes for.
Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but maybe people just go to Kamala Harris's website and they notice that Trump has a platform on there and Kamala doesn't have one on there. It could be as simple as that. They realize that one party and one person that's running for office has experienced this, has done this before and been successful, and is not afraid to do interviews and has done like 37, 38, 39, something like that, versus one canned one that was 41 minutes and they only got to use 18 of it.
This is not 40 years ago. 40 years ago, my parents had bought their first house under Jimmy Carter, had a crazy interest rate, and when the economics of this country got healthier under Ronald Reagan, the interest rate came down and their life progressed and things were better during the 80s based on the economic fervor that we had. This is 4 years ago. All right. So when these people are looking at things and saying, why have I been getting hosed for the last 4 years? They don't have to think back to 40 years ago. They can think back to 4 years ago when I'm like, man, weren't everything a lot better? And oh, by the way, the more people you continue to bring in here, more illegals, which might be the biggest threat that we have going right now, not just from a legal standpoint, but just an economical standpoint of crushing our systems. These are the people that are getting hosed first. It's just the regular average Joe. They're the ones that are so upset about this. So when you say it's 5-1, I bet you it's probably 10-1.
But the problem is, are they going to vote that way?
Will they?
Yeah, and that's and I don't know the answer to
and
that.
You're under an information barrage telling you on a regular basis, don't look here, look the other way.
They seem pretty sure, though, when they were asked.
They were pretty positive.
They were pretty sure. And look, do you manipulate the audio? Could be. Is there a way to do that? Absolutely. But it's interesting to me that the people are like, dude, 5-1. 5-1. Trump over Kamala. Former Clinton Secretary of Labor, Robert Reich, says Elon Musk is out of control and should be threatened with arrest if he doesn't do more to limit free speech. We talked about this a little bit last hour, Lois, with the fact that we could be Brazil, we could be Europe very, very soon, November 5th even, if we don't elect the right person, which is Donald Trump, who is in favor of free speech and open speech and speech that we don't care for. you have to protect. Free speech is protecting the speech that you don't like as much or more as the stuff you do like. But this tells you exactly what Democrats feel about free speech. They want him threatened with arrest.
Well, at first it was, we need him to stop. Now it's turned into flat out, all right, if we're able to go ahead and get the CEO of Telegram, let's go take down Elon Musk. I've said this on this show several times before, we underestimated what him purchasing Twitter meant to the entirety of society and to the entirety of what the left and how they viewed it. They looked at it as their own personal propaganda playground. And when it was taken away, they got mad. There's a reason why you have these prominent leftists who have held powerful places in office are all the ones that are talking about, including when it comes to Robert Reich, hey, we need to arrest this guy.
It's unreal, man. And he has other plans, too. Now, this is the same side that would tell you that you're silly, you're nonsensical for boycotting Bud Light, which I never advocated for anybody boycotting anything. I just said I wouldn't buy it. I'm not a beer drinker, but I wouldn't buy it, and still to this day wouldn't. But he said they need to boycott everything that is Elon Musk. He gave 6 examples, 6 things altogether. And this is the same side that's, that makes fun of the right for saying we're not drinking Bud Light. But he is in favor of a boycott. He used the example of Telegram's CEO being arrested as a way of fixing X and Twitter.
I'm telling you, that opened the door. That allowed them to say, oh, look what we can possibly do.
Look, Rhino, look what we can get away with.
Look what we can get away with. Look what we could shut down. Look how we can take away one side's ability to hear from a candidate or from a idea that Elon Musk. I mean, if there's anybody's ideas I'm shutting down, it's not going to be a guy who built so many great things, including the EV industry, instead of, shutting down somebody like a Kamala Harris or even a Donald Trump. Politicians compared to those, at least Donald Trump has done something with his life and made something other than just taking money from the government.
Nothing like arresting your political enemies to stop any form of independent thought. Los is right. They depended on Twitter, and they are so pissed off they don't have it. They're willing to do anything to destroy it.
I mean, you think
Never
about
seen that before, huh?
Yeah, isn't that crazy going after your political enemies, trying to put them in prison?
So that
Where have I seen that
30s
before?
and 40s.
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Brazil.
German. A bunch of problems with it.
Russia.
Men pretending to be women are offended. Yeah, no kidding. That's the truth. Morning Xtra 106.3. Men pretending to be women are offended by women pretending to be men. If you're confused, we'll make it all make sense. We live in a clown world right now. Next on the Morning Xtra. Until 10.
Kamala Harris wants to control prices at grocery stores. Will grocery stores soon be run by unions?
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
Taking the dog Cash on a walk last night around the neighborhood, and you pass all kinds of other people doing the same thing, walking their dogs. And everybody that we passed talked about how beautiful the weather was. It was fall-like, they kept saying. And you're right. I woke up this morning. Goodness gracious. It's only 63 degrees right now. It was chilly this morning when I walked to the truck to get in here. Fall just around the corner, and with those leaves starting to drop, now's the time to get your home ready with Southern Exteriors. Whether it's cleaning out the gutters, adding gutter covers, or both, Southern Exteriors has got you covered.
Mr. Tug.
Hey, what's up, man?
It's Cash.
Cash,
will you walk me today?
Yeah, I will. Absolutely. We got fall-like weather. Who doesn't want to get outside and
go
walk?
by the pretty houses.
Yes, we can do all that. And make sure that those pretty houses have gutters that are taken care of. While they're up there cleaning those gutter jobs, doing that for you, they'll also inspect the roof. So don't wait. Call Southern Exteriors today. 877-9-SOUTHERN, 877-9-SOUTHERN.
Why did you have me neutered?
Well, look, that was your mama. I didn't do that. That was your mama's idea. I didn't. I
like Southern Exteriors.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah, better than your jewels, because those are gone. Visit southernexteriors.co to learn more about the gutter cleaning program, the gutter replacement program, or getting both of them done and get that free roof inspection. 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co. Don't mess up the website, southernexteriors.co.
Extra 1063 and the Warrior Alliance are teaming up to help veterans succeed after military service. Join us on Friday, September 13th at the Warrior Alliance Expanding Our Impact fundraising event with Tug Cowart and special guests Drivin' and Cryin's Kevin Kenny and Atlanta Braves alumnus Sid Bream. Doors open at 5 p.m. and guests are invited to a private celebration party at the Xfinity rooftop to watch the Braves and Dodgers. Tickets and VIP tables include dinner, parking, and the game and are on sale now at thewarrioralliance.org. Supporting veterans means more than just thank you for your service. Sign up today.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Mad Men. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Mad Men every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 1063.
This September, Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is back, stronger than ever. Diamonds Direct helps you get the perfect jewelry gift with 0% interest. That's right, enjoy 5 years of 0% financing on any Diamonds Direct purchase. It's your chance to get her the perfect ring with 0 interest and comfortable monthly payments that fit your budget. But act fast. This offer ends September 30th. For details and more, visit diamondsdirect.com. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Only at Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, founder of Rough Greens. You know, about 40 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The doctors told me there was nothing they could do, nothing. I needed to go home and get my affairs in order. Well, I decided to take a different track and ultimately became a naturopathic doctor for now over 20 years. I'm also a world-class dog lover, and I know that lots of dogs suffer with digestive problems, itching and scratching, low energy, achy joints, bad breath, you name it, they suffer from it. And research showed me that dog food is dead food. So I formulated Rough Greens with specific vitamins and minerals, probiotics, antioxidants, omega oils, all the stuff your dog needs. Just sprinkle on a little bit of Rough Greens. It's easy. My dogs and I are so convinced they can help your dog, we're offering a free Jumpstart trial bag. All you have to do is cover the shipping. Don't ever give up on your health or on your dog's health. Order your free Jumpstart trial bag at roughgreens.com. That's RUFFgreens.com.
Election coverage is more than polls and numbers. It's about what matters in your life and your community. And Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station cares about your community, your voice, and most importantly, your vote. So keep it all here for the latest and download the Extra 1063 app and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
Extra 1063 is pleased to support Smyrna's Public Safety Foundation Hot Rods and Heroes Car Show. This Saturday, Smyrna First Baptist Church 10 until 3 family-friendly event and open to all ages. The car show is going to be awesome. So many cool cars. And if you would like to enter your cool car, you can do that. Extra1063.com. The Battle of the Badges, police versus fire department softball game. Then they'll have Touch a Truck too. Local fire, police, first responder units on hand with gear and equipment demonstrations. And like I said, Touch a Truck. You can check out the fire trucks and the SWAT vehicles. Hot Rods and Heroes this Saturday, 10 until 3. Smyrna First Baptist Church, benefiting the Smyrna Public Safety Foundation. And if you'd like to register, again, extra1063.com is the website, so you can be out there. This is your chance. You always say you back the blue. You always say you love your fire department. You appreciate them. Now it's the time to get out there and actually show them how much you do. I feel like we're living in an alternate universe, Los, and this story that you brought today is it's messed with my mind all morning.
I love this story. Now I want to try and make this very clear for the audience. So I'm going to be like teaching like elementary school, because even I get a little bit confused about this. All right,
make it simple, Miss Lippy.
So imagine that you're a young female. All right, me, Rhino, Tug, we're all young females, like legitimate females, like actual females. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
And we decide, well, we have OnlyFans accounts, and and that's how we make a little bit of coin here and there. Enough for visit the bar, maybe a trip to Bermuda. Just a little bit of cash, right?
Extra spending money.
But we recognize that there's a trend going on, and it's with OnlyFans accounts that feature trans women. We realize, man, we got to get in on some of this, right? But I mean, we're actually women. So what do? We decide to make our makeup a little bit weird and to stick a sock into our underwear.
Oh.
So as to pretend that we are trans women and that we're men, but we're not. All right. So you have a couple of OnlyFans models who have done this, and the trans community is losing their mind going, but y'all are women.
You can't do this.
You can't do that. I'm a man pretending to be a woman, and that's how I make my money. And they're sitting back going, I'm doing it better than you are.
Oh my God, dude! I would just rather not have money. I would rather be broke. I've no inclination, Rhino, whatsoever to make money this way. I feel like I'd just rather go to work at Kroger or Publix or something.
Oh God, yeah, I would love to do that
you.
instead. You know what?
Nobody wants to see me on OnlyFans anyway. So
nobody wants to see you on OnlyFans. There are better ways. Yeah, there are much better ways to go ahead and make a living and going out there and doing things. But look, there are some people that want to go out there and do that. Now, OnlyFans is open to more than just sexual.
Yeah, but let's pretend. Let's not pretend that that's the majority of the things going on.
Yeah, I don't know how well like the baking and the chef's channels do versus the I Get Naked channels.
Yeah.
I Get Naked channels always win.
I mean, you could sell, like just pictures of your feet and stuff. You don't have to get totally naked.
Nobody wants to.
Somebody's been doing this.
Yeah, look, I know
it's
happens.
not me.
It's weird and gross, but
RhinoPetiteFoot.com.
Yeah, right. But to have trans people mad at regular folks, or however you say it.
Well, can I read you this
yes,
line?
Go ahead. Yes.
All right, so this is where you're living in an alternate universe. This is the Matrix, okay? This is not real. The adult content creators who go by Silly Lily TS went viral after they published a video on X captioned, "Just two boys being silly," alongside a trans flag. The video prompted hundreds of responses from X users who claimed the visible bulge on the model's video was actually a toy and accused them of mocking transgender women.
Well, it seems to be working.
They went, maybe we pretend to be trans and see how many more people we get to buy our content.
The people pretending are mad at the people pretending. That's
see how weird that is?
So odd even to say out loud.
The people pretending are mad at the actual women pretending to be lady men.
Good Lord. This is the world. This is the clown world. This is the upside down world. This is the bizarro world that we're living in. And I just try. I try to just avoid any and all of that stuff. I'm not kidding, man. I try to avoid anything to do with craziness because it makes my soul hurt.
I don't know. I like diving into the deep end of the pool sometimes.
Well, no, I'm not judging by any means. I'm just saying, I don't have the capacity,
I get it. You want to turn your brain off and say this is a faction of the world that I do not want to partake in, and I get that.
Can I give you another example? When we went down this weekend to see the Georgia game, and I was sitting next to a sorcerer of some sort.
Sorcerer?
Well, I mean, she was dressed up. She had this dress on. And
okay. Was she a Wiccan?
I ain't sure. She looked like she belonged on a TV show. Is what she looked. And then a couple seats down was a GoBot, and I have a hard time taking these people serious, and then there was a dude, you could tell that he was out of uniform, but he had the makeup on, he had it all ready to go, and in his backpack he could put the uniform on.
You had Comic-Con going on downtown.
Yes, I'm saying, I guess I should.
So that's why.
Sorry, yes.
All right, well,
but I mean, again, I don't have the capacity for any of that. We live in a world where we're worried about World War III, and these people are dressing up like Transformers.
Can I give you two lines?
Yes,
on this?
please. Yeah.
Okay, just so wrap your mind around this.
Okay.
All right, so we've established two actual women pretending to be trans in order to gain subscriptions. It would be the same as if you, me, and Rhino were all actual real women, and we decided, let's get in on this action. Let's pretend that we are now lady men. All right, one of your responses. Is there anything more disgusting than pretending to be transgender and then being transphobic towards trans girls?
Oh my God. Dude, that's so confusing just to hear aloud.
Wait a second.
You need a diagram to figure out what that means.
All right, how about this one? Quote, "We know you're both fake. If you want to do some not safe for work content, then sure, do it. Hell, I do. But don't get in our space." hold on. These are actually, remember, the whole bit, Rhino, is that, hey, we're all women. Remember, like, I'm a man who's being a woman, but I'm really a woman. But I'm a woman. Yes, that's right. So when you say it's our space, what? Yeah. Hold on.
And you're not allowing actual women.
Man, women, I can't.
Dude, I'm telling you, I get exactly.
So
bizarre world. You need
this is a bizarre world.
Felt board with all kinds of names.
Or
and
a decoder ring.
Yeah, or something. You got to have something because none of this makes sense to regular folks. And that's why I'm telling you, I was not the only person as we were driving down to that ball game that noticed that people were dressed up all crazy. And I swear these things are linked. Los, I know maybe y'all think I'm crazy, but this way of thinking, the way that people that are mad at the women pretending, they think just like those people on the train because we took Marta down to the ball game. This is all one group to me. And I don't know that I'm 100% right, but I feel like I am. I feel like there's a link between pretending to be something you're not and then dressing up pretending to be something you're not. There's something there.
All right, so here is the last comment that I was reading throughout this entire article, and this is the one that, man, like I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. Okay, here was the quote: "Pretending to be women to grift while also being mad that women are grifting off that grift is so hypocritical."
Again, that's so hard to confuse. Like that's so hard to understand.
Tug and I are just sitting here like, I don't get any of it.
I mean, think how funny it is. You have just the idea of like, so you're a man pretending to be a woman so that you can go on OnlyFans and make money off that. And so as soon as women pretend that they're actual also women. Transgender, then you're upset at them because they're grifting off of your grift. I love it. This is so much fun. You know
it's
what?
So confusing.
2024, 2020, Project 2025 is, hey, we got to get this sexual stuff under control.
That's right. Exactly. Oh, my God, dude.
Oh, because any of it matters.
In the world that we live in, well, I don't know which way's up. It's like a clown car all the time. Every time you flip on mainstream media, you see the clown car. Anytime you flip on internet, you see the clown car. I try to avoid both at all costs, all the time. Just be involved with none of it. Morning Xtra on Extra 106.3 when we come back. MSNBC reluctantly says Trump has the numbers to be the next president. You want to talk about uncomfortable in that studio. They are definitely that. Neil Borsch Report, Fox News Update, and more of the Morning Extra next.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Well, it's another school year for some of the nation's elite colleges and universities, and once again, here come these useful idiot so-called students wearing their little Palestinian headscarves and protesting Israel. We even have Randy Weingarten, the hyper-leftist head of the American Federation of Teachers, joining in. This is all Israel's fault. So maybe it's time for the Quran's greatest hits. So we all will know just who these people are protesting for. Quran 2:191. Slay the unbelievers wherever you find them. Well, for instance, if you find them in a tunnel about to be rescued. Quran 3:85. Any religion other than Islam is not acceptable. Quran 5:33. Maim and crucify the infidels if they criticize Islam. Quran 8:12. Terrorize and behead those who believe in scriptures other than the Quran. I guess if you don't have time to behead them, just shoot them in the head. Quran 8:60. Muslims must muster all weapons to terrorize the infidels. Quran 9:123. Make war on the infidels living in your neighborhood. Quran 22:19. Punish the unbelievers with garments of fire, hooked iron rods, boiling water, melt their skin and bellies. Quran 47:4. Do not hanker for peace with the infidels. Behead them when you catch them. What an amazing, peace-loving religion, isn't it? And why would any sane parent pay to send their children to Colombia? Just a question. Neil Bortz, Spreading Love, Extra 106.3.
Travelport LP has openings for the position of Senior Software Development Engineer 1 in Atlanta, Georgia. Job duties for the position include designing, developing, and deploying high-quality software solutions for the travel industry. Hybrid work schedule. Email resume to America's Business Partners at Travelport.com and reference job code 7916266. Again, email resume to America's Business Partners at Travelport.com and reference job code 7916266.
Have you heard about Sonder and their Georgia-based Medicare Advantage health plans? Sonder Health Plans is committed to revolutionizing healthcare, making it straightforward, personal, and affordable. Call them and ask if you qualify for their fantastic $400 grocery card offer and $0 premiums. They've even got their own radio show and podcast called Weekend Wellness, dedicated to keeping all Georgians healthy and happy at every age. Call 800-331-2928 or visit SonderHealthPlans.com. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
From the latest breaking news to the conservative voices you know and trust, your best new follow on social media is Extra 1063. We're at XTRA 1063 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and LinkedIn, and pretty much any social media you scroll through every day. And we drop exclusive giveaways, new daily content, and the latest breaking news from Georgia and across this great nation. Interact with your favorite Extra personalities. Get the latest on our live events and so much more. Follow at Extra 1063 across all your social media and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
Former President Trump in prime time. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Hours after Vice President Harris goes to New Hampshire unveiling proposals to give tax breaks to small businesses.
Former President Trump had said he was hoping to debate Vice President Harris on Fox News tonight, but her campaign did not agree to that, and so it's turned into a town hall featuring just former President Trump with Fox News host Sean Hannity. Among the topics to be discussed, next Tuesday's debate with Harris on ABC.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. There's more scrutiny for Secret Service. More than a month after the Trump assassination attempt, Republican Senator Josh Hawley tells Fox whistleblowers have come forward saying some agents at the rally were from Homeland Security with no protection experience doing unrelated casework.
They were pulled off those cases, said, here, you're going to go guard the former president of the United States. Watch this webinar. Oops, it doesn't really work. Oh, that's all right. Go out into the field anyway.
The U.S. government has charged 6 Hamas leaders in the deaths of 43 Americans in the October 7th terror attack that triggered the war with Israel.
Hamas terrorists murdered civilians who tried to flee and those who sought refuge in bomb shelters. They murdered entire families. They murdered the elderly, and they murdered young children. They weaponized sexual violence against women.
Attorney General Merrick Garland. 3 of those Hamas members charged have been killed. The other 3 still in Gaza somewhere. A political shakeup in Ukraine while Russian attacks continue. Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has resigned, joining several others stepping down.
President Zelensky's vowed to reset his cabinet, in his words, to achieve the results we need. Meanwhile, 7 people, 3 of them children, have reportedly been killed in a new Russian air attack on Lviv in western Ukraine. It follows missile strikes yesterday in which at least 50 people died.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. House Republicans have issued a subpoena for Secretary of State Antony Blinken to testify at a hearing later this month into the chaotic 2021 U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, that including a suicide bombing that killed Americans. America's listening to Fox News.
In theaters now, Reagan returns to office.
We are the greatest country in the world. We have just forgotten it.
You can run from a bully for so long, but after a while, you're going to have to stand up to him. I am about to start the biggest war of this century.
You told me you wanted to make a difference in this world.
What would you have me do?
I want you to fight!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Reagan in theaters now. Rated PG-13. May not be suitable for children under 13.
Hey
everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Align your business with other like-minded conservatives by advertising on Xtra 1063. Email sales at xtra1063.com.
Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, 770-GET-HEAT, CentralHeat.com. MSNBC, they have to be just beside themselves to have to report that Donald Trump is in good standing to win the election November 5th. Let's hope that's the case. You and I hope that, but you can bet that they do not feel the same way. Yet, they had to tell the truth on the air last night.
National polling average right now, recent major national polls, it's Harris by 3 points over Trump. Now, if you're a Democrat, obviously you're happy that your candidate is leading. You're also happy because this is an improvement from where the race stood for Democrats when Joe Biden was their candidate. He had basically trailed Donald Trump all year. But if you're a Republican looking at this poll average coming out of Labor Day, you could take some solace too, because Donald Trump is no stranger to this position, being behind come Labor Day in a presidential election. Back in 2016, on average, he was down by 5 points against Hillary Clinton coming out of Labor Day. Of course, Trump won in 2016. And in 2020, on average, he was trailing Joe Biden by an even wider margin. And yet, he didn't come back to win, but he came back to come extremely close, Trump did, in the Electoral College. So certainly, from Trump's standpoint here, 3 points, to be behind 3 points, in some ways, that might look a little better than the last two times did.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because Trump always underperforms in polling and outperforms whatever the numbers that he has been given or assigned, and sometimes manipulated, because it's not what we want to inform you with. It's how we want to influence you, and they want to influence you to believe. And let me tell you, it's working. I've been asked about this a number of times by our friend group. Why is Kamala Harris doing so good in the polling? She's a terrible candidate. There's nothing good about her. She has no platform. And everybody notices it. Everybody knows it. And I said, don't fall for the influence, Los. And even the folks over at 538, they are saying the same thing, and that is a leftist outlet.
Yeah, Nate Silver, as of now, has Trump basically, when it's, again, probability scale of victory, he has a 14-point margin over Kamala Harris, because they are doing it on a state-by-state basis and then looking at what has happened with the amount of your bump out of the DNC, what are you getting out of the RNC, then as we get into the fall, what happens when it comes to voters that they typically are not able to catch with their polling data. Then as of now, he looks at Trump and says he has almost a 57% chance of winning, whereas Kamala Harris is at 43.
Yeah, this is a big move, and this is a big number, and we talk about it all the time. We talk about these polls. We talk about the quick bump she's going to get for being the new candidate. But that was an excitement that just didn't last, and it won't last, because you have to have more than that. And I think Americans are starting to wake up to, hey, we can't just depend on joy. We can't just depend on what you're telling us. We need some kind of issues. So when we go to your website and there are no issues, what are we going to do with that? Nothing. We're going to look and say, hey, what's hurting me the most? Where's the money coming from? Where's the economy? Where's the border? These are the issues that people actually care about. And when you dive deep and you go state to state, you realize each state has a different idea of how they're going to be affected by an economy that Kamala Harris hasn't addressed.
And keep in mind, too, Nate Silver has Kamala Harris with the number ends up being a 60% chance of her winning the popular vote. So, he's basically saying, listen, she's going to get more votes than Donald Trump. It's just that when it comes to the Electoral College, he has Donald Trump getting to 270 easier than it is for Kamala Harris. And keep in mind, when he starts building these models, and again, 2016, he was way off. 2020, he's able to get it right on. The models end up pointing out, well, we're not even saying that Kamala Harris is having a problem in Michigan or Wisconsin or any of these Midwestern states, because if she does, all right, this is over.
Done.
This is over with.
There's nothing to
There's
even
nothing.
discuss.
There's nothing to be discussing at this point.
Yeah, I think people see through what Kamala is. And we had the audio earlier from the people in Brooklyn. We've played audio from all over the country. And when they see her speak in a different accent in different places to pander to whomever it is they're talking to or she's talking to, I think people get that uneasy feeling like this may be a really fake person. This person has no soul. I mean, they're able to read the same speech over and over and use some sort of different dialect, but that just tells you how there's nothing below the surface.
Well, I believe that again, we're into America 2.0. All right, America 1.0 was over with in 2020. That was the deadline, the end line of when things occurred. Now we move forward and we decide what kind of society we're going to be. Kamala represents the more of a socialist communist end. And I think the important part that I want to bring up here is that if you're paying attention to what the news media was telling you in 2020 and 2021, now they give you a 5-week coronation of this person. It's like the most incredible thing ever. I think the polling is showing that maybe we've learned a little bit of a lesson that if they're telling us it's one thing, it's probably another.
I couldn't agree with you more in the fact that I know when I see it, and maybe I'm a bad example, but when I see it and I hear her, I listen and just have so many question marks that I know she can't answer, Rhino. I know that she's not able to say, here's what my plan is, because she has no plan. She has the machine behind her. She has the system. She is nothing more than the figurehead in front of the system. Donald Trump is an actual person with ideas, and the Democrat Party doesn't allow that. You work as a cog in the system, and that is it.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm going to listen to what Kamala Harris is telling me, and what Kamala Harris is telling me is that some people should never live above what they decide is livable and what they should be able to have or not have. And so even though she hasn't really come out with any policies, her idea of, hey, you know what? When I grew up, our community was about being community and nobody should have more than they need. That is a big problem to me. So I'm going to break that down. I'm listening to what she says, and it just doesn't agree with what my values are. My values align more with Donald Trump right now. And my values are that, hey, if I work hard, I should earn and get what I deserve instead of allowing the government to take that from me and deciding what I am allowed to have. That's a big difference to me.
Yeah, because I don't know what that is. How much does Rhino need? How much does Rhino deserve? What is it that he can have versus anybody else? And that's an unanswerable question. I mean, in reality, there's no way to answer that question. You're taller than I am, Los. You may need more food than I do. You know what? But if we're all getting exactly the same, you're going malnourished.
But, and this is where I find this in the argument, the arena of ideas, this is where I don't play with these people. When they start saying what you deserve, what you're supposed to get, what's going to happen, the answer really has to be as much as I want.
That's right. Well, that's the real answer.
As much as I'm willing to work for. The fruits of your labor are earned. The only thing you have in this world that can create wealth and comfort for yourself is your ability to work. Now, with inheritance notwithstanding or anything else, your ability to work is the only thing you have. So when somebody says like, well, what they're telling you is I'm going to limit your ability to work in order for you to decide exactly what you're able to have according to my rules.
And if you're done that way, if you're treated that way, what is your what's your reasoning? What's your desire to go out and work harder than anybody else? Because if you end in the same spot, like Kamala Harris has said she wants to happen, why would you be encouraged to go work and come up with something new, build a business, because you've got to finish in the same spot? Why would you work harder than the guy next to you?
Well, if Rhino decided he's going to take on another position and he's going to do this radio show, plus he's going to do another radio show. Like, here, I'm going to do this one local, I'll do this one national, and he buys a boat. How is that unfair?
No, it's not.
It's not. The man is getting the fruits of his labor. That's the way it's supposed to be.
You know, The Rock kind of did this with AOC after AOC attacked him and said that, once he gets to that $70 million price, everything else should go to somebody else. And he goes, well, then, that's fine. I'll only work to $69 million. That way I don't have to give up everything that I've been working for. I just won't work that hard anymore. And that is an exact example of why this is a failed strategy or failed idea. Why would somebody work harder for something that they'll never be able to earn? It's not right. It's not fair. I mean, I'm working working harder than some people. Some people work harder than me. I don't ever go to them and say, you know what? You don't deserve that boat. You don't deserve to drive a Mercedes. You don't deserve to go swim with dolphins. You don't get to do the things that you want to do anymore. That's not fair. What is fair is that we all work. We all have merit in the game, and you get what you deserve. You get what you work for. That's all it is.
And Ronald Reagan said something similar to that, too. Back a long time ago, he talked about, well, if I'm going to be taxed at a particular rate, then I'll only do the work up to that rate. So it's kind of along the lines of what The Rock was saying as well. And understandably so, there's no incentive to work harder. But and that's the thing. Kamala's she's not been quiet about this. She's not hid it. She's not ran from it. She wants everybody to end in the same place. She said it aloud many times. Everybody should end in the same place. We don't all start in the same place, but we need to end in the same place, which is the most absurd thing you could possibly say if you want a thriving country.
You just need... Tug, think about what they're doing and what they're saying right now. If you make over $400,000, you're going to pay a higher tax rate. So then why not, when you get to $399, go, okay, here's how I'm going to go ahead and deduct everything else so that I'm not over that $400,000 mark. That's exactly an example of what they're trying to do to people. And right now, $400,000 household income, I mean, that almost seems like nothing anymore after, what we've been through, the inflated prices and everything else going on.
Well, and this is where a lot of times what happens is when you have money, you know how to hide money.
Yeah, no
okay.
Kidding.
Like
and
you can,
I'd be doing it too.
If you have and a lot of this is for show. When you have these people saying, any dollar over 400,000, if you make this is what we're going to go ahead and do. Man, you can create the sort of accounts where you're basically making it a point. I'm going to pay myself into a retirement account, lower my tax threshold, and that money will never find its way over to the government. But if you're sitting there making $40,000 and you're thinking, yeah, way to go after that guy. No, they're going after you because there's a lot more of you than there is that guy.
That's exactly right, man. And that's the reason they've hired all these IRS agents to make sure they have the ability to get that guy.
Trust me, I've done this for years to lower the tax threshold. I've paid myself rather than paying the government.
Same here, man. We save like crazy.
And that's what you do, but you have to have that money to place it in certain areas. And again, that regular dude who's just trying to pull off his 50 hours during the week to make ends meet, he's the one who gets hosed along with the other million people that are just like him.
Yeah, and I think it falls flat when Kamala Harris or Barack Obama or Michelle Obama come on stage and say you should never want for more than you need, and then they have 3 houses. I mean, how do you justify that to your voters and say, well, I mean, just for you only deserve 1 house, and it should only be 500 square foot, and you should only have this amount of food, but we're able to have whatever we want because we made this through taxpayer dollars. We've made our money through you. We've taken it from you. We haven't had a job.
You want to just, and again, I'm not a financial professional. I'm just saying that if you set up a SEP IRA, you can put up to about $70,000 of your income in there, and so suddenly, hey, I'm making $400,000. No, I made $330,000.
Or if you're in a traditional IRA, flip that thing to a Roth IRA, pay the taxes now while they're lower. Instead of if Kamala's elected and they go up and those Trump tax cuts expire. So that's another way to do it, right? Pay the taxes now versus later when it's more.
And then her idea is unrealized gains on that, though, and then you're looking going, wait, what are unrealized gains? It doesn't make any sense to you. And people are just glossing over that idea of unrealized gains and how much it'll cost you. They don't see that it's a land grab, that it's a way to go ahead and say, hey, farmers, I know this has been generational. You've had unrealized gains on this. You don't think they're going to come after your Roth IRAs and other areas that you put your money in and say, hey, you've got unrealized gains. Look how much you made. You owe us this amount of money now every year.
So here was the fun note that you were able to see. I think it was like Wall Street Silver that ended up tweeting it out there from a couple days ago. Basically pointed out how there was a $2.7 billion wealth transfer. That's what the collective of regular Americans were missing out on from the pandemic moving forward. $2.7 billion in salary and benefits and everything else. Yet the millionaires and billionaires had seen a $2.7 billion increase in what they were holding. It was a wealth transfer. Mm-hmm. And so when you start looking at things and say, all right, who gets hurt by all this stuff? It's not the millionaires and billionaires. It never is. If you have money, it's easy to hide money. This is always, all these policies are about attacking the middle class and hollowing it out. Because once you have no middle class, well, then it's just, here's the top of the party, and here's everybody else. That's
exactly
it.
Right. Morning Extra at Extra 106.3 in North Carolina. There is an RNC lawsuit over non-citizen voting concerns. Rhino, I think this is probably something that is happening in every swing state where people are really, really nervous about non-citizens voting. Now, they put up signs that said if you're not a U.S. citizen, you can't vote. I'm not sure that's going to protect anybody or stop anybody. I mean, I'm fine with them being there, but I don't know that it helps.
No, I mean, it's like gun-free school zones, right?
Right. That's a great example. Yes, that's exactly what it's like.
Just because the sign is there doesn't mean it's going to happen. And what happened in North Carolina right now, the RNC is looking at the Board of Elections saying, hold on one second, you guys have done something that we cannot stand behind. And we go back to the Help America Vote Act, which is what they put in. And there were about 225,000 voters that opened the door for non-citizens to vote, because what it says in the, and I'll call it the HAVA Act, just to kind of cut it down a little bit, you don't need any kind of identification information. You don't need a driver's license. You don't need your 4 digits of your social security number. You don't have to prove that you're an actual citizen. Now, the election officials in the state said, well, we were really non-compliant with HAVA and we didn't actually check those 225,000 registrations. We didn't have any kind of information on them when it came to a driver's license or whether or not they were citizens. And they say they fixed it. But at the same time, those 225,000 people that registered without supplying the HAVA required information, all of a sudden now are still on the voter rolls, and they refuse to take any kind of action or do not reach out to those informations to collect that required information.
It's pretty simple to understand. They want people to be able to vote who are not allowed to vote in the United States of America. That is the goal. And it don't matter what they have to do to get it done, they are going to do whatever it takes. They are going to circumvent the law. They are going to put people in situations. I mean, you heard what Nancy Pelosi said the other day? It was yesterday or the day before. We played the audio. Oh, and she was talking to Bill Maher, another guy who's a Democrat, a leftist, and he was appalled. He couldn't believe what she said.
He rolled his eyes.
He did. We want to make the undocumented documented. That way, we get around any of these lawsuits. We have our cake and eat it too.
They really do. And that's what they're doing here is they're trying to mislead, because you know what? They do have to fix this. But what they're saying is we don't have time now before the 2024 election to clear out these votes. So they may vote, right? It's very convenient for them.
Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. When we continue, we'll knock out the headlines. And blue cities and states are uninvestable, according to one man of Shark Tank fame. Says Extra 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station.
Well, they're trying to control us, too. They're trying to, like, we're children, and they can tell us what we can come out of our mouths. Yeah. Don't let other people tell you what you can say.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's Shopping Center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of the annual Duck Puck event, supporting Special Olympics Georgia athletes, and we need your help. Adopt a cute rubber duck today for just $10, and all proceeds will help provide everything from meals to housing for our Georgia athletes at the state games. Hurry, only a few days left. So adopt your duck today at duckrace.com/Atlanta.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
Millions
of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. Hungry kids get sick more often and can struggle in school. It can be harder for them to focus and learn. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures.
We want to ensure that all of our kids have healthy meals every day.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping feed our kids.
To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
All right, here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, September 4th. State Democrats are appealing a ruling by Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger that allows independent presidential candidate Cornel West and socialist candidate Claudia de la Cruz on the ballot in November's election. Raffensperger stated that both West and de la Cruz cleared the 7,500 petition signature hurdle, allowing them to be on the ballot. The challenges are part of a national effort to block minor presidential candidates from taking votes away from Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. A FedEx driver was injured and hospitalized after he drove his truck into a Gwinnett County home. Neighbors said the driver lost control after coming around a corner and swerved to avoid an improperly parked vehicle before hitting a mailbox and then crashing into the residence. According to Gwinnett Fire, no one in the home was injured. The driver is expected to recover after being thrown from the truck and rushed to the hospital. And in sports, Chris Sale reached 200 strikeouts and earned his 16th win after pitching 7 strong innings, leading the Braves to a 3-0 win over the Colorado Rockies last night at Truist Park. Sale won his 6th straight game and remains the leading contender for the NL Cy Young. Charlie Morton will look to keep the momentum going tonight at 7:20 when the two teams meet in Game 2. You can catch all the action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT. CentralHeat.com is the website. Morning Xtra, Tug, Rhino, and Los. I used to love watching Shark Tank. It was one of the very few shows, because y'all know I don't watch a lot of TV, but Laura and Jacob were watching it one day, and I was fascinated by these people coming in and pitching their products. And
I like it.
Dude,
it's fun.
It's still
addictive.
It is, man. Still, we don't watch it near as much as we used to, but there for a while, man, we were watching it all the stinking time. And I think most people were. Most people were fascinated by hard work. You got Mark Cuban on that show, who has lost his ever-loving mind. Maybe he never had an ever-loving mind, but he is definitely insane at this point. And I always liked him on the show, but I was like, now that I hear him and his thoughts and the beliefs that he has, I'm just like, not much for him. But the guy that I liked the least on the show was Kevin O'Leary. He's the guy that always got under my skin. I was like, man, this guy's a wise guy. This guy's a smart hiney. And you know what I mean? He always was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He has become one of my favorite people because he doesn't hold back. Seems familiar. Somebody else that does that's running for president. I'll let you fill in that blank. But he says what's on his mind.
I thought you were talking about Joe.
Oh, I was. You thought I was talking about Trump?
He holds nothing back.
No, yeah. I was actually talking about Board Up Go Virgin River, the captain on the show. But he was on CNN, and he said, look, don't shoot the messenger. You'll hear him say that specifically. When the CNN hosts that he was talking to, he laid it on the line and said that New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, places like that, places that he's lived, done business, and even grew up, raised his family in Massachusetts, there in Boston, he can't do business in those places. And he, like everybody else, has moved to Florida. You'll hear a little pushback from CNN, but he corrects them really quick.
And here's the one thing that nobody saw coming, and this is the competition of states. I don't put companies here in New York anymore, or in Massachusetts, or in New Jersey, or in California. Those states are uninvestable. The policy here is insane. The taxes are too high. We put them in Fargo, North Dakota, because 40% of the people work elsewhere, including Boston. A bit of a debate with Elizabeth Warren about this, but I say, look, Senator, we've got to move the companies out of your state because you're not investable anymore. You're punishing people if they're successful. You overtax them. You hit them with a super tax. New Jersey, what a mess. New York, uninvestable. And
Wait,
California.
why is New York uninvestable?
Try and do a project in New York. Try and build a data.
I'm asking, Don's point, is it beyond the taxes?
Oh, the regulatory environment is punitive. I had a project in upstate New York behind the grid in Niagara Falls for electricity, a global data center we were building. Eventually, it got so bad with the politicians in the local region and the state policy, we moved it to Norway and all the jobs. That's New York. Uninvestable. Sorry, don't shoot the messenger. Just telling you the way it is.
Some pushback from our elected officials in New York on that.
I was just going to say Kathy Hochul.
Yeah, but
I'll debate them any time of the day you want.
We would love to set that up.
Particularly
I'd watch
AOC,
that.
she's great at killing jobs. She kills jobs by the thousands. You know, another New Jersey problem. Where did Amazon take their jobs? They took them away from her. She threatened to sue them if they created jobs. I mean, this is a reality.
He's saying what a lot of people are saying, especially what happened with that Amazon thing here in New York.
Absolutely the truth. Yep. We've talked about this over and over and over again. There's a reason people are leaving in droves from California and New York, and he didn't include California in that conversation, but it's absolutely the same scenario in California. Who would invest their time, invest their treasure, invest their money in a state that you know is going to do everything they can to make it difficult on you to operate?
Where are these companies leaving? They're leaving California. Elon Musk, whether you like it or not, he moved his Tesla headquarters away from California. He moved X's headquarters away from California. But let's go back to New York. I've talked about it so many times about AOC and the lies that she continues to tell. 25,000 jobs were being brought to New York, and she fought Amazon every single way. So the constituents that would have benefited from those jobs didn't have that opportunity. Let's go upstate. Remington. Remington's a well-known company. Obviously, they make guns, and they were upset about the way they were being handled in New York and all the additional information they needed to provide rather than staying and paying those kind of taxes. They said, we're leaving. We're going to Georgia. These are the kind of companies, these are the kind of industries we need to pay attention to and say, hey, if businesses are leaving because of the policies of Democrat officials, we have a problem.
This is not difficult. All right, when Donald Trump got into office, one of the first things he was doing, he talks about all the time, the deregulation, getting rid of so many of these rules. Now, what you're saying, well, what do you mean? What's with regulation? Why is that so important? Because deregulation and regulations in general are set up in order to grease the palms of the politicians. I will tell you a story. There was one particular person, he's very rich, he's very famous, and he told a story about when he was trying to get something done, and Cory Booker, of all people, hit him up and basically said, well, listen, if you make a donation to me, we can go ahead and get away with it. We'll just remove some of these rules and some of these hurdles that you're having to go through. Okay, that's how the game works.
Right,
so when you start hearing about regulation and deregulation, understand that if you want to build something, as Kevin O'Leary is saying in New York, you got to grease a lot of skids, and that's what we're trying to get away from. That's where things suddenly move faster and more efficiently and at a better cost to everyone.
And then, but on top of that, though, I mean, when you put regulations in place like you can't use a gas stove or a gas oven. You can't use any of that stuff. You can't use combustible engines by 2030. I know that's been moved now, but that's what Kamala Harris talked about a long time. those are also restrictions that make it impossible for companies to operate. I mean, if you have to transform your entire fleet of 18-wheelers into EVs that won't even do the job you need them to get done, or you don't have enough power because we use solar and wind energy and the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine, then it's going to be impossible to have the power, the energy you need to run your company. Those are other regulations, Los, the same way. Yours are exactly right, but then you combine them with those other crazy regulations that make no sense and are harmful to business. Nobody's going to roll the dice and put their business in your state.
Well, let's talk about it. Well, let's talk about it on a micro level. Very micro. If you want to build a basement in your home, you've got a studded out area and you want to build a basement, many counties want you to sign up for a permit, which is going to cost you to go ahead and do that. Now, imagine this on a grand scale where you're trying to build office space. All right, there's one regulation after another, and every single one takes time, costs money. And that's why when you have somebody like Kevin O'Leary basically saying, we're not investing there, it's too much and it's too crazy. That's what he's talking about. Just imagine your little basement, what that was able to do. And now you have to go through 100 of those processes that are pulling money from you.
And let's not forget what these regulations come from: a fake climate crisis, a fake climate initiative that really doesn't do anything for the environment, doesn't help the environment, and that's where the biggest problem comes. And then they create all of these things like the EPA and create thousands of jobs, overpaying for things that don't make sense. And, you know, they want to take it to the point where, see, they used the entire East Palestine train derailment and Norfolk Southern. Who do they blame for that? Trump. Oh, he removed regulations from it. No, that's not what the problem is. The problem is that, you know, these companies are supposed to be checking their equipment anyway. It should have been happening from the beginning. It had nothing to do with the regulations the government set up or removed. It's hey, we need to make sure that we're checking our equipment. So most of this is just BS, just to create government jobs that do not do anything but take taxpayer money to create these things that make no sense to anybody.
Of course. And nobody's going to invest their money. Nobody's going to invest their time. Kevin O'Leary is, I mean, he's obviously a big player in business, but if he's saying it, those people that can't afford the same things that he can, smaller businesses, why would they put themselves in that situation? They're not going to. They're never going to. I want y'all to hear something that happened in Minnesota. There was a man on local TV news. Think of Channel 2, Channel 11, Channel 5 here in town. His name is Dr. Scott Jensen. He's a former Republican member of the Minnesota Senate and a former nominee for governor, too, like I said, on the Republican side. He was asked on local Minnesota TV what he thought about Tim Walz, and they pulled the plug in the middle of the interview.
The governor has agreed to a debate on October 28th. You're not thrilled about that.
As you and I both know that that's a sham. Early voting starts in less than 3 weeks. Come on. What's happening is Tim Walz wants to have one debate as late as he can, potentially after 50% of Minnesotans have voted, and say, see, all the major news programs understand that I've had a debate. At this time, 4 years ago, Tim Walz had participated in 4 debates. He's absolutely been shutting him down. He wants to do this one debate so far into just before Halloween, and you know that he's actually using you to put out his message that I want to debate. He doesn't want.
Oh, what happened?
Wait,
looks like we lost that feed right there. You were just hearing from Dr.
We
Scott
hit the truth
Jensen,
limit.
We hit the truth limit. It set off the detector and shut down all the computers as soon as he started talking about the truth. We lost the signal.
It's unbelievable that a local news outlet, when the man says he's using your airwaves to promote his message, they pull the plug. And what you didn't hear at the end is the lady stumbling and stammering around going, oh, well, as soon as we get the link back up, we're going to get him right back on. No, you're not. You did it on purpose. There's no doubt about it in my mind, because like y'all said, the truth limit had been hit. We cannot allow this to be spread because all of those corporations are in the pockets of the Democrats and vice versa. They are the social media and media wings. They're the communication wings of the Democrat Party, and that's what they do. If they see some opportunity to pull the rug out from under Republicans and not speak to their audience directly, they will do it, and that's exactly what they did here.
Well, they're going to protect Walz. They're going to protect Harris Ed anyway. Look what happened with Tim Walz and his brother coming out and talking. It got shut down as quick as it started to arise, where he said, do not trust my brother. I don't trust my brother. He would not be good for this country. I mean, that was something that, he continued to say, but nobody's covered that. They've pushed it aside and they won't cover it.
And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. The closer we get to this election, you're going to see a desperate media doing whatever they can to disparage the name of Donald Trump and promote Kamala Harris. Nobody thought Kamala Harris was the savior, ever. They've never thought that. And now in the last 5 weeks, she's become the greatest politician you've ever heard of in your entire life.
I wish we could still call it the media. We're just used to it.
Yeah.
What we really need to just refer to it is the Democrat propaganda wing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
The communications wing.
Because if we want to just say the media is going to make her out to be, no, it's the Democrat propaganda wing is going to make her out to be this. And I think it's interesting when you look at the amount of interviews that have been granted. So far, her and Walz, 1. So far, when it comes to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, 34. All right?
And the one that Tim and Kamala did was 41 minutes, 42 minutes, and they had to cut it down to 18 because of the chaos that must have been in this interview. We know there was more of it, but they couldn't use it.
Meanwhile,
because of the media wing, the arm of the Democrat Party wouldn't allow it.
The Democrat propaganda wing would not allow a full 41 minutes. Meanwhile, your guy Theo Vaughn gets an hour uninterrupted with Donald Trump, and he just vamps and goes from there.
Ask whatever. Trump has done an hour and a half in front of a hostile media. He is not running from anything. He is not hiding from anything. And I've been reading, and I believe this probably is the truth, that it's Barron, his son, saying, hey, if you want to reach people like me, kids like me, because my son, who's 20 years old, probably, I don't know how old is Barron? Does anybody know? I don't know, Ralph.
He just turned 18.
Yeah, 18. So he just graduated high school.
Okay, that's right. He's in the same age bracket as my son, who's 20 and in college. And my son is the one that turned me on to Theo Vaughn. He's like, Dad, you got to watch this guy. I think you'll love him. I think he's super, super funny. That's where I saw the Theo Vaughn Trump interview. So I think Barron is probably guiding this, and Trump is smart to listen to him and go on to all of these social media platforms or these YouTubers, these comedians, these people who are doing things in an alternate media than the mainstream media, which is only going to give you a slanted story.
Man, yeah, Barron has. I mean, it is documented that Trump did say Barron was the one who turned him on to it and showed him.
That makes sense because my son did the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I want to know what's cut out of that CNN interview, because what did they cut out? I don't think it was just gas.
You'll never know.
Well, what I think it was policies that would damage her campaign, the ideas that she was trying to push through that look like communism. And they probably said, hey, we probably shouldn't run this because it'll make her look exactly what she is, which is a communist idea or a socialist ideas that the American people just will not go for. So I think that's what was edited out. And that's a big problem because, you know what? I don't like when Trump overtalks. I don't want to see 2 hours of him because, you know what? When he gets off mic, it is getting to the point where it's like, hey, that was repeated. That is annoying. This is, too much, but at least he continues to do it. They're cutting it out to protect her.
At least he's there and available. She's not, because she can't. Every time she opens her dadgum mouth, her polling numbers go lower. We've all talked about it, and it's the dadgum truth. You can't miss it unless you're intentionally missing it. Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Elon Musk, he may get a shot at cutting government waste, just like you and I have always wanted somebody to get in there and just cut it all out, tear it down to the studs. In the same way he did when he bought Twitter. Remember that? What was he carrying? Like a sink when he bought Twitter? Was that what it was?
He brought the kitchen sink to him.
That's right. He's carrying it around. I hope he does the exact same thing to the federal government. And there is a good shot of it next on Extra 106.3.
Atlanta radio legends, proud military vets, national network experts are all on Extra 106.3.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months.
With live and local shows in the morning and afternoon, and the biggest conservative hosts in the country throughout the day. We are always here with the latest news and opinions you need.
There's no chance if the media and the Department of Justice and social media are all against you.
No traffic interruptions, no former shock jocks, just Atlanta legends you've turned to for a generation. The conservative voice of Atlanta. Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Have you ever been to like a Georgia game, Georgia Tech game, Auburn game, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Kennesaw State? You ever been to any of those games? And it's technically fall, but you're out there sweating. You're out there going, goodness gracious, I don't know how these boys out there running on the field like this. It's hot as the devil out here. Don't be mistaken. It's a little cooler this week, but the heat is not gone, and you know that. So stay cool with Carrier products from Central Heating and Air Conditioning. The Carrier systems that are designed to keep you comfortable even during the hottest days of the summer and into the fall. They used advanced cooling technology, and you'll enjoy a refreshing home no matter how high the temperatures are. Right now, you can save up to $2,000 on a new Carrier system, $2,000 to ensure that you're cool when you want your house to be cool. Plus, their Carrier systems come with excellent warranties for added peace of mind. At Central Heating and Air Conditioning, they pride themselves on better service through knowledge. Turn to your Atlanta Carrier experts. That's Central Heating and Air Conditioning. You can call them today, 770-GET-HEAT, 770-GET-HEAT, or visit them on the web, centralheat.com.
You know Diamonds Direct for their exquisite diamonds and fine jewelry. What about luxury watches? With a hand-picked collection by the industry's top timepiece experts, skip the waiting list and get the timepiece you've been eyeing right away. And this month only, enjoy 0% interest for 5 years on all the top brands. Imagine owning a $15,000 luxury watch for just $250 a month. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Diamonds Direct, where you can shop direct for diamonds and watches.
Hey everybody, it's Neil Bortz, an actual attorney spokesperson for Van Sant Law. Notice the heavy traffic out there? Yep, school's back in session. Things can happen. Sometimes people aren't that careful. Maybe an accident. But David Van Sant, he's there to help smooth the way for you if somebody you love gets hurt. Call Van Sant Law at 855-GA-INJURY. 855-GA-INJURY. First call after 9/11, Van Sant Law, 855-GA-INJURY.
Looking for bold discussions on vital issues? Tune in to The Janelle King Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. with an encore episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3, where we dive into kitchen table topics that are essential for a strong republic. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, it's all good because we have new podcasts that drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out on these thought-provoking conversations.
Fox on Tech.
Android users get some new features just ahead of its competitor Apple debuting its new mobile version. Android phone users who have now updated their OS are finding new things. One is audio descriptions of images and text-to-speech tech for web pages viewed in the Chrome browser. And Google's brand new circle-to-search feature is deployed, allowing you to circle text or images on the screen and have Google search for more on those desired topics. At least one feature is intended to aid those with some sensory disabilities, such as Listen to This Page, which Google says can read news and blog posts to you. One can pause or rewind the reading and even listen at varying speeds. The Android features come just as Apple is getting ready to unveil iPhone 16 at a special event on Monday and release the next version of its mobile software, iOS 18. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station is always streaming live across Georgia on the Extra 106.3 app. Get the live stream and your favorite Extra podcast anywhere you go. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now for Apple or Android.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. I'm going to take you back to April 14th. The day before Tax Day, and those have nothing to do with each other. April 15th, Tax Day, also Jackie Robinson Day. April 15th, pretty good day, but an even better day was April 14th. Why? Because that is when Elon Musk bought Twitter. And I got to tell you, he did some things at Twitter that I didn't know that he would be able to do. You remember when he walked in there, I mean, they had people working everywhere. It was unbelievable how many people were working at Twitter. And he was like, this has got to go. I don't know what all these people are doing. And he started slashing. And if I'm not mistaken, the number got down to about 100 employees at Twitter. He was cutting everything left and right. We joked in that last segment about him carrying out the kitchen sink. He was like, I'm taking it all out. Everything's going out. We're going to fix this thing, and he has. The Washington Post is reporting that Donald Trump is considering business leaders, including Elon Musk, to be a part of a task force to audit the federal government and its agencies to identify programs to cut. I could not love this idea anymore. The fact that he was able to just dice up Twitter, and it operates more efficiently now than it ever has. It is the number one news site among any app platforms in the world. This is exactly what we need to happen in the United States of America. We need to slash, just like Milei down in Argentina, because it's working there, and when we do it here, it'll work as well.
Yeah, I think this is a huge idea, and I think it's a big idea that needs to be implemented, because when you have these government agencies that go to other government agencies to do audits, what do you think is going to happen, especially since, it's a partisan idea? When you have business leaders that come in, proven business leaders, by the way, and Elon did that by cutting 75% of the staff from Twitter and the waste. Let's just say waste altogether, because I think the 75% number included waste that they didn't need there, like, I don't know, grass wheat shakes or whatever they call those things. But this is the idea that you want to have business leaders who know how to do it, who know what is going to make a company successful. So when you look and go, hey, the EPA, we got to cut some of the regulations, we got to cut some of these things. But then you go to other departments and you say, what does this department do? They don't do anything but cause, all we do is pay all these employees who are inefficient. That's the important thing. We need to cut things like Amtrak. That's not a business that's being run real well. Maybe the U.S. Postal Service. I know people don't want to hear that, but FedEx and UPS seem to do a better job delivering than our own postal service that we're spending millions and millions of dollars while operating at a loss. You need business leaders to come in and give you idea.
The system always protects itself. We always point that out.
No question.
The system has so much redundancy that's built into it, where there might be, hypothetically, 3 people that are basically all doing the same job, and it's just a matter of, okay, who's doing what? If you want to know what happened at Twitter, and the number got to 80% of what Elon Musk fired, he got rid of redundancy. It's like, why do we have 5 legal counsels for just this company on just this topic? It's like, why don't we just have one?
Seems like a more efficient way of doing it.
This kind of the inefficiencies of government get exposed. And I think that if you're going to tell me that we only have 20% of wiggle room, right? Like all of our things that we have when it comes to Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, there's 80% of your budget that you can't touch. All right, what are you willing to do to that other 20%? And I think having somebody who is from outside the system, just like he was when it came into Twitter, I think is much more valuable when it comes to cutting redundancy.
Maybe it's just our generation, but I do not expect Social Security to be there. So let's start getting prepared for it not to be there. Let's start dismantling it. That way the last of the older generation has it as long as they need it, and then we don't, because we know it's not going to be available for us. I mean, that's the most logical thing to do, if you ask me. People may agree or disagree with that, but my generation at 47, I do not believe it's going to be there. So why not fix it now? Why not just get it out of the way? And another thing from this Washington Post article, you talking about the system protecting itself, Los, they wanted you to know in this article that the ethics experts are concerned by Trump potentially bringing in Elon Musk.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
No,
how could they? They said it could benefit Musk's businesses to be on the inside. That would be
So meanwhile, when you have the Biden administration with Kamala Harris claiming that Starlink isn't able to work around the world as an internet service provider for people in rural America or anywhere else when it's good enough for the Navy, and so the government has decided not to award him any contracts to provide Starlink in rural parts of the country. You're telling me that the government isn't already attacking his business interests?
A conflict of interest is what I was looking for. And yes, you're exactly right. There's a great example of how they're already doing it. And that's the thing.
They beat him
they're
to
not
it.
afraid of him.
Right.
They're not afraid of him being attacked. They're afraid of him benefiting. That's the ridiculous part.
No, that's right.
Let's look at who else is benefiting. I know Nancy Pelosi is benefited based on stock options, based on any kind of policies they make. If you don't think government officials are benefiting, these are people who don't own businesses that are benefiting on the ways they make rules, the way they make laws, the way they make regulations. Everything they do when it comes to a government industry is to help line their pocket. They're the ones that are benefiting, not Elon Musk.
And then on top of that, when he didn't own Twitter, they worked and colluded with the federal government to make sure you didn't have information regarding COVID that was correct. They made sure you didn't have the information to base your vote on about the Hunter Biden laptop. There was collusion there. It's okay. Those ethics experts at the Washington Post that they have interviewed, they were okay with that. But they're not okay with Elon Musk coming in and potentially slicing their job. That's what it is. Just the building the wall ahead of time, or at least attempting to do that.
And again, those ethics experts are government officials.
That's exactly right. Every one of them. That's
Right. And they're the ones that are getting rich and making money off of taxpayer dollars. And they're talking about ethics and how much money people are making. You know, you sit there and you get to decide, think about how ridiculous this is. I don't like what you're doing, and I do like what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing. And now I'm getting paid with taxpayer money to decide who's doing what and what's right in my mind. That's how ridiculous this is.
More freedom, less government is always the way to go. That's the way I look at it. There's never a time in my life where I've experienced anything that government had their hands in that worked appropriately. Give me more freedom, less government.
If you're already the bad guy,
that's right.
Why not be more the bad guy,
That's
right?
Right. Wear out your Hulk Hogan style NWO shirt and then tear it off.
I'd be like, I'm here. You know what? I would just, if I was Elon Musk, and I'm not suggesting he do this unless he was really looking to have fun with it, I would just have a shirt that read "Cutter of Inefficiency."
That's right, absolutely.
And I'd show up day one, suit jacket on, cutter of inefficiency.
Just piss them right off.
What they're really afraid of is that he comes in and goes, hey, this is where your problem is. You have this many people and none of them know how to do the job. Just look at what's happening here in DeKalb County. The school superintendent is apologizing because employees didn't get paid. Teachers didn't get paid. Why? Because they have so many people there. Nobody knows what has been put in the data entry. Nobody knows how to transition to a new payroll system. These kind of things. You have people who are inefficient at their work, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of somebody coming in and saying, well, they're not even good at their job. Get rid of them and put in this person. They've done it right.
Yeah. Never going to happen, man. The system, as Los has so aptly pointed out, will always protect itself, and things are not going to get better until there's less government. And that will be, a fight of our lifetime. And that's kind of what we're, at this point, that's kind of what we're looking at on November 5th. Do you want more government or less government? Do you want more freedom or less freedom? You know, and I don't know if y'all saw this. Maybe yesterday on The View, one of the hosts called Donald Trump a Marxist. It's like I've seen this word tossed around a bunch. I think I'm going to use it against Donald Trump. It was Joy Behar. That's who it was. Yeah, she was like, Donald Trump's a Marxist. I'm like, well, wait, what? Where did you get this idea?
Me thinks you don't know the definition of Marxism.
But it doesn't matter to them, right? It's all about how do I throw out something that will look like it means something, and it looks like I'm so dialed in because people hear this word tossed around a bunch. I think I'll use it here and use it against Donald Trump, and let's see if it works. And I'm sure nobody in the mainstream media called it out for being ridiculous. But when you and I hear it, we know that she knows nothing about what she's talking about. And it's almost embarrassing, Rhino, that she would even say it.
It is so embarrassing. And you know what? This is the game that they want to continue to play. They know better than that. And, they call him authoritarian and they call him Marxist. They call him all these things. And he's actually the opposite of it. But they want to create fear of him.
I just want to call him Mr. President. That'll be enough for me. And then
number 47.
That's right. Listen to Joy Behar and all the ethics experts from the Washington Post. Everybody just melt down when Elon Musk and Donald Trump start taking an axe to the inefficiencies of the systems of the federal government. Morning Xtra and Extra 106.3. We're on the air until 10. 8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts, 770-GET-HEAT, School's back in session, so that means so are the unhinged protesters that we warned you were coming. next after a Fox News update and a Neil Boortz report.
It's time for the Boortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
Well, it's another school year for some of the nation's elite colleges and universities. And once again, here come these useful idiot so-called students wearing their little Palestinian headscarves and protesting Israel. We even have Randy Weingarten, the hyper-leftist head of the American Federation of Teachers, joining in. This is all Israel's fault. So maybe it's time for the Quran's greatest hits. So we all will know just who these people are protesting for. Quran 2:191. Slay the unbelievers wherever you find them. Well, for instance, if you find them in a tunnel about to be rescued. Quran 3:85. Any religion other than Islam is not acceptable. Quran 5:33. Maim and crucify the infidels if they criticize Islam. Quran 8:12. Terrorize and behead those who believe in scriptures other than the Quran. I guess if you don't have time to behead them, just shoot them in the head. Quran 8:60. Muslims must muster all weapons to terrorize the infidels. Quran 9:123. Make war on the infidels living in your neighborhood. Quran 22:19. Punish the unbelievers with garments of fire, hooked iron rods, boiling water, melt their skin and bellies. Quran 47:4. Do not hanker for peace with the infidels. Behead them when you catch them. What an amazing, peace-loving religion, isn't it? And why would any sane parent pay to send their children to Colombia? Just a question. Neil Boortz, spreading love, Xtra 106.3.
Veterans are eager to transfer their skills and experiences to civilian life, but need a trusted resource to navigate life beyond military service. The Warrior Alliance is changing thousands of lives for the better and needs your support to expand our impact. Join us for an exciting fundraising program, followed by an Atlanta Braves baseball private event on Friday, September 13th. Special guests include powerful veteran testimonies, Atlanta Braves alumnus Sid Bream, and Drivin' and Cryin's Kevin Kinney. Individual tickets and VIP tables are on sale now at thewarrioralliance.org.
Have you heard about Sonder and their Georgia-based Medicare Advantage health plans? Sonder Health Plans is committed to revolutionizing healthcare, making it straightforward, personal, and affordable. Call them and ask if you qualify for their fantastic $400 grocery card offer and $0 premiums. They've even got their own radio show and podcast called Weekend Wellness, dedicated to keeping all Georgians healthy and happy at every age. Call 800-331-2928 or visit SonderHealthPlans.com. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
From the latest breaking news to the conservative voices you know and trust, your best new follow on social media is Xtra 106.3. We're at XTRA 106.3 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and LinkedIn, and pretty much any social media you scroll through every day. And we drop exclusive giveaways, new daily content, and the latest breaking news from Georgia and across this great nation. Interact with your favorite Xtra personalities. Get the latest on our live events and so much more. Follow at Xtra 106.3 across all your social media and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can.
They want to question the Secretary of State under oath. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. House Republicans have sent a subpoena to Antony Blinken.
House Republicans are threatening contempt charges if Secretary of State Blinken doesn't appear for a House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing on September 19th. Chairman Michael McCall, in a letter, says current and former State Department officials have confirmed Secretary Blinken was the final decision maker on what turned out to be a chaotic exit from Afghanistan, where 13 U.S. service members were killed.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. The State Department's calling the subpoena unnecessary. That Blinken has testified on Afghanistan multiple times, and they've turned over thousands of records. Well, Israel still deals with Hamas in Gaza. Hezbollah militants fired more than 60 rockets from Lebanon today.
Some of them being intercepted by Israel's missile defense system, the Iron Dome. No serious injuries were reported, though some damage was reported to at least one building in the area. The event was another example of how Iranian proxies continue daily attacks against Israel and comes after Israeli air defense shot down an incoming drone launched from Iraq overnight.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Russia bombed the Ukrainian city of Lviv overnight, killing 7 people. Hours later, Ukraine's foreign minister resigned amid a political shakeup during the war. The day after Russian missile strikes left more than 50 people dead in Poltava. The Secret Service is feeling more heat over the Trump assassination attempt. Republican Senator Josh Hawley tells Fox whistleblowers have come forward, saying some agents at the rally were from Homeland Security and didn't have a protection background.
Now, they say that those agents were only given a single 2-hour online training to prepare. The training video was pre-recorded, and some even say that those videos were riddled with tech failures.
Fox's Brooke Singman. Tonight, former President Trump has a town hall forum in Pennsylvania on Fox News Channel, hours after Vice President Harris campaigns in New Hampshire touting proposed small business tax breaks. America's listening to Fox News.
In theaters now, Reagan returns to office.
We are the greatest country in the world. We have just forgotten it.
You can run from a bully for so long, but after a while, you're going to have to stand up to him. I am about to start the biggest war of this century.
You told me you wanted to make a difference in this world.
What would you have me do?
I want you to fight!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Reagan in theaters now. Rated PG-13. May not be suitable for children under 13.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by September 2nd, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Search for the Extra 106.3 app wherever you download apps by searching XTRA 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station.
Tug Rhino and Los until 10. 9 o'clock hours brought to you by Southern Exteriors, 8779 southernexteriors.co. Rudders. Roofing, gutters, siding, painting. They do decks. They do it all. They can hook you up at Southern Exteriors. Look you in the eye, shake your hand, and do exactly what they say they're going to do. Told you this was coming. We've been warning you all summer long that as soon as the protesters get back to campus, they are going to start protesting again. Anti-Israel protest, pro-terrorist, pro-Palestinian protesters at Columbia University. That's where the ground zero is for all of this. The unrest is back, and the unacceptable behavior of these people who are intimidating kids that are Jewish, so they are afraid to go to class. They're afraid to be on campus. This has to be shot down. This has to be shut down completely. There's no doubt that if this continues, there's going to be lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and rightfully so, because the universities are doing nothing about it.
Nor are the police or anybody else in the cities that these universities are a part of, and that's the biggest problem, because they've made this happen, and that's where the biggest problem lies, is that once again, as soon as school got back in, here we are in front of Columbia, already 2 people arrested, and it'll get worse as we go on, and they want to keep calling them mostly peaceful protests, but what you're not seeing is that these protesters are not only just going there and holding up signs, but they're running through barricades, attacking police officers, attacking Jewish students, attacking regular students, people who aren't even involved in this situation, and they're spray painting, they're breaking things, and they're getting arrested for it. We've allowed this to happen because once they're arrested, they're out within 2 hours because they can't be held. And this is the problem with what's going on in this world right now.
Oh, the fun of it is that they're so dedicated to Hamas, they had to take 4 months off.
Yes. Well, it's summertime. Look, we're not going to be able to do anything right now.
I can't be a full-time protester. You're asking too much. I need to make sure I'm on campus.
I got to get a beach trip in.
There is a correlation, and I got to go ahead and find the tweet that I saw it on, where there was a correlation between the more expensive the university and the more protests that they had at it. Whereas if you just go down to a lot of, let's say, SEC, ACC country, yeah, you know what? It's not a $100,000 a year education. At the same time, the kids seem a lot more well-adjusted to realize right from wrong and evil from non-evil.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And I tell you, man, you have these people who are protesting on behalf of people that just killed 6 hostages. Now, and then you had maybe the president of the United States, in between vacations, coming out in favor and basically giving Hamas a reason to protest and these people a reason to protest on campus by saying that it's Benjamin Netanyahu that's not doing enough to get the hostages free. What are you talking about? I mean, they were the ones that were sending commandos in to get these people free. They had them cornered up. They had them pinned up. That's the reason they killed the hostages. The people that are doing the most are the ones that are being accused the most, which makes no sense, Rhino.
Well, it makes no sense. And then you have Tim Walz sitting here and trying to avoid the question. And the reality is there are Americans that are held hostage. And we don't seem to care at all about the Americans that are being held hostage. And again, I don't want people to be confused. These aren't just students. Yes, students are getting wrapped up in it. There are students. But these are outside agitators. These aren't students. The person that was arrested yesterday doesn't go to Columbia University. The 2 people that were arrested don't go to Columbia University. The people that were arrested on Emory's campus here in the state of Georgia, they weren't actual students. They were people from the outside. This is where the problem is lying. If students want to get outside and they want to go ahead and protest and they want to do it peacefully, there's no problem there. And that's not what the issue is. It's the fact that people are attacking Jews that aren't part of this facility.
You got to go to the foundational documents of the of Hamas, though, right? And they're the so-called elected government of the Palestinians. Are there Palestinians that don't support Hamas that are in Gaza? Absolutely. And in the West Bank? Absolutely. But by and large, they are the accepted government of those people. And their founding documents say their goal is to eliminate Israel, the state of Israel, and kill Jewish people. Until that is resolved, nothing else can happen. There's no getting by that. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do to change their mind. There's nothing that you can give in on, be flexible on, because the ultimate goal is death and destruction. And until that is eradicated, that is wiped away, then there's nothing that Israel can do or the United States can do to make this situation better.
Yeah, and this isn't just about Jewish students. I mean, I know that, they are the target of the anti-Semites. They're the scapegoats in this in reality. These people are here for chaos. These people aren't here just to defend Palestine or the Gazan people. If they were, they'd be calling for Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran to stop spending money to organize these terrorist groups that kill the same people that are protesting. They are just doing this because they want to sow chaos into the world.
All right, so I found the piece of information. This from Steve McGuire. He writes with the Wall Street Journal, New York Post. He had a chart, and it was correlating the price of the university versus no protest, no encampment, encampment. All right? So 20,000 and under universities, you had one that had a protest, but no encampment. All right? And we're talking quite a number of universities. Once you got to 40,000 and under, okay, there were a handful of protests within there, but not a significant amount in comparison. Once you get to the 60,000 and higher mark, not only do they have a majority of the protest, they also have almost all the encampments.
Jeez.
So help me correlate that, though. Why
the
is
pricier the education, the more
liberal and
the more
indoctrinated?
indoctrination.
Okay, yeah, though. And maybe
look at that scatter.
Oh yeah, I see it.
That's as much as you can point out. What is the correlation? God help me, send my kids to Clemson.
Yeah,
okay,
right,
like
absolutely.
something along those lines. For the moment that Harvard comes calling, you go, I don't know if you want to take that call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, who sat in front of Congress. It was MIT, it was Columbia, it was Harvard, it was Yale. Those are the people that, we have the biggest issues with. And who were the ones that stood up there? It was the chancellors of those universities that had to stand up there and defend their anti-Semitism or their lack of protection for Jewish students. It's always the high-priced colleges, the elite colleges, as they like to call them. I don't think they're elite anymore.
They're definitely not anymore.
Not at all.
It's an
But
embarrassment.
it is. It's an indoctrination house. That's all it is. They're schools of propaganda.
I would just point this out. I don't know if there's a finer institution of learning. Emory's going to be there. And obviously we had the protests at Emory, and those got put down pretty quick. But you haven't really heard of anything significant at Georgia Tech, which is one of the finest institutions of learning in the entirety of the world, right in our backyard. It's $11,000 for in-state. It's $32,000 for out-of-state. So tell me why you're sending your kid somewhere for $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for them to be indoctrinated into that madness.
Taught what to think versus how to think. And I would say the same thing, man. I was just looking because I couldn't remember. For us, College of Charleston, because it flows right along the same line as Georgia Tech there. It's about 13 in-state, about 36 out-of-state. And we've not seen any of this. And it's a liberal arts school. We've not seen any of this. Jacob says once in a while you'll see some crazy person holding a sign, in a corner or in like the, the cistern area, which is kind of the main part of campus where they do graduations and stuff like that.
Go sell crazy somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, man. You just don't see it. I mean, it's 10,000 students. And I don't know if that goes along with the fact that Charleston is though you would think, a pretty liberal city, but it's really not. They've just elected their first Republican mayor in the past 100 years, and all of a sudden, this city is starting to flourish again. You're seeing the differences that are being made. I'm throwing out a lot of anecdotal evidence, but I can tell you what our experience has been.
Well, let me tell you what the big problem is, and let me tell you what the issue is with these schools. How many championships in football do they have? Zero.
That's right. Zero SEC championships.
Zero SEC championships. If they actually had a football team, we wouldn't be having any of these problems.
Well,
right
but
now.
they're yelling at the girls doing the sorority dances, right? That's what they pinpoint and call out at like Alabama and Auburn and Georgia and Ole Miss.
I will tell you, and I think he has a point when he gets into this, and it can now be applied over here. Neil Bortz brings up what happens when a society has a large Muslim population that suddenly it reaches critical mass and it goes from the religion of peace to suddenly, hey, we need Sharia law. Hey, we need this. Man, when you get to a certain level of these universities and it's a bunch of crazy people around other crazy people,
who can out crazy each other?
There's critical mass.
Yeah,
this is when they feel comfortable getting out there and being crazy in front of one another.
Guessing that's right, man, because it all makes sense. It all adds up. And I look, there's not been a study done on it, but I'm not sure I trust the people that do studies to begin with. You know what I mean? They're the same people that are running academia. They're the same people that will feed you fake information. They're the same people that run the CDC, and you couldn't listen to them anymore. You know, it's all the academics, and Los has been great about pointing that out. But in that Washington Post article that we talked about in the last hour, the ethics experts that they had talking on the subject of Elon Musk, they talked about having the importance of having academics in the government. And I was like, oh my Lord, no, I don't want the faculty lounge involved whatsoever. They've gone out of their way to screw up everything.
That's all they do. We don't want any of them involved, and that's why you look at a Randy Weingarten. I mean, this woman is an absolute lunatic when it comes to a Department of Education or from a teachers union. This is a scary, scary thought to have them involved in the government. It's not doing anything good for our children. We're not learning the things that our children need to learn. If you want to know why we're behind in science, technology, and math and English, that's the reason, because we're not being taught that. Our kids aren't being taught that. Instead, they're being allowed. And, look, I want kids to be kids. I want them to be out there having fun and doing the things they want to do. But when they're indoctrinated to think that this is a big issue, it's not. Allow things to happen. Allow these students to be students and learn the way they're supposed to learn. and gosh darn it, get him a better football coach.
That's exactly right. Win a championship, and then come back and talk to us. Then we'll have more in common. Then we'll have at least a middle ground to go from.
If you don't have any appearance in an SEC championship game, you really can't be in this conversation.
Remember, Angela Morabito brought that up not too long ago.
That was her point.
That was
it. Well done. Thank you, Angela.
She's so good.
Her trolling is getting so much stronger.
Dude, she is sharp as a freaking razor blade on, and the thing is, she's so sweet as a person. It's so funny to see her go after something like that because she's so poignant.
Like, I get it. I can be kind of a jerk about stuff, so it's not a surprise when I'm kind of a jerk about stuff. Not Angela. Angela's like sweet. She's incredibly friendly.
But I'm telling you,
she's smart. We're not that smart.
I'm definitely not. No, Los is the smart one.
It cracks me up when I when I have nutcases out there telling me about how Robert Reich suffers from a disease. I'm like, well, that's him. That's a him problem. have that 4'3" dude stop talking about trying to arrest Elon Musk.
I think maybe it is the woke mind virus that he has. I don't know what else is going on.
I just said that he has a home and it's in my pocket whenever he wants it.
Is he really that? Is that really his height? Is he really?
You want to see a picture?
Well, I mean, I've seen pictures
You'll
before.
giggle.
You're making me feel tall now.
Good Lord. All right, then.
Yeah.
While you look that up, I'm going to tell you what Kurt Cobain knew that the rest of us didn't. And I'm talking about the Kurt Cobain, who committed suicide, unfortunately, in 1994. Are you kidding me? That's right.
I just showed him Robert Reich when he's shaking hands with
You're
Bill
right,
Clinton.
Rhino. You look like a globetrotter compared to
Yeah, I was going to say, at that point, Rhino's looking at him going like, I'll play center.
Seriously.
You go to guard.
Seriously,
I'm
get out of the
becoming
way.
a heightist now.
No, that's exactly right. Kurt Cobain. I remember reading this quote in high school, and I never thought anything of it. And now, all of a sudden, it's almost like you can't miss it. I'm going to read you this quote, and you can tell me what you think about it. Kurt Cobain, this is from 1993.
Now, I will point out, the fact checkers are like, that's not real. I'm like, okay, well, just prove it.
I remember reading it. I remember reading this quote in high school, and this is the first time I've thought about it since. And Reuters can say whatever they want. I remember seeing this in high school. I may even have it in a book somewhere.
You know what? I'm just going to, let's just say this. With as much mis and disinformation that's out there, let's have a little of our own. Even
what's the worst that could happen?
What's the problem with looking at Kurt Cobain this way?
In the end, I believe my generation will surprise everyone. We already know that both political parties are playing both sides from the middle, and we'll elect a true leader when we fully mature. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a business tycoon. Someone who can't be bought, someone who does right by the people, someone like Donald Trump, as crazy as it sounds. I'm telling y'all, I remember hearing this and reading this in high school. So I don't care what Reuters says, and maybe the quote has been jumbled up and maybe it's been changed a little bit, but the basic premise was there because at the time, and the reason it stood out to me so much because it was about that year that Donald Trump and at the time Marla Maples flew back into Dalton, Georgia, and I was like, oh man, that's weird. All this is happening at one time. Kurt Cobain says this. They're here in town.
I can't believe they went to Dalton, Georgia.
Yeah, to hand off her homecoming queen crown at Northwest Whitfield High School. But anyway, I just remember all this stuff happening at one time. Can you believe that? Even if it's jumbled up, and I'm going to go find it because I've got so many Kurt Cobain books that I used to read in high school. I was just so fascinated by him as a person and the music, and then, of course, the death. It was because it happened my sophomore, junior year of high school, so it was right in the most prominent part of my youth, my growing up.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me because, when, going back, because I was still in New York at the time, I was just moving back down to Atlanta around there. But one of the things I paid attention to were people like Oprah Winfrey, people like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, who sat and touted the fact that Donald Trump will be a great leader one day because he is a businessman. He can't be bought. He's going to go in and clean up a lot of the garbage and be able to set this government straight. So that was a talking point all the way back to the 90s about Donald Trump. So it wouldn't be surprising at all that Kurt Cobain thought the same thing.
I would just think that we should be looking for outsiders on a regular basis. And outsider doesn't mean that everyone has to be a billionaire. Elon Musk is now an outsider. Obviously Donald Trump's an outsider. J.D. Vance is an outsider. People that, yes, they went through and kind of did it on their own, and they don't need the government in order to be successful.
Thank God.
I think that's what
that's
you
the
should
scary
be looking
thing
for.
That's the scary thing for the Marxist or to the socialist or somebody like Kamala Harris, who's like, hey, you can actually do things on your own, make your own living, and do things and benefit from that and actually be prosperous in that regard.
This ticks me off, man. I'm going to go find that quote. I'm going to go figure out where I saw it and when I saw it as a kid. And I'm going to comb through the books, the handful of books that I have.
Tattoo it on your chest.
Yes, right, exactly. Take that. I don't worship at the altar of Trump, so I ain't tattooing nothing on my chest. Did I tell y'all this weekend I saw a woman with a firefly tattooed on her chest. I mean, come on, tattoos are out of control. I'm not Neil Bortz by any means. This thing I thought it was a mosquito at first.
Man, Neil really doesn't like tattoos.
He does, man. He gets sideways. If you miss Neil Bortz talking about that, you can go back and listen to it on the Extra 106.3 app. He was just losing his mind over tattoos. I get it. I don't think you need to be a human doodle pad like that woman that got out of the army and she's got 99.8% of her body tattooed. You don't need that. But I don't hate him like he does either. When we come back, the Nashville shooter was just as crazy as we expected, and it's been confirmed with the release of her manifesto next on the Morning Extra. On Extra 106.3, we're on the air until 10. Hey, it's Tug. The Morning Extra has you covered from 6 to 10, and Kimmer's got you on the ride home.
Jen Psaki, holy cow, Jen Psaki's a former White House liar, now a liar for MSNBC. And they were talking and gabbling and bickering about all the things that these ladies do. And they were she was talking about how she would compare Hillary Rodham P. Stinky Fart Cabbage with Vice President Cleopatra. Cut number 1, sir.
This magical, charismatic quality in person. So do a lot of politicians. People say that about Hillary Clinton. Also true.
Holy moly. Magical, charismatic quality in person like Hillary?
If you say it enough, somebody's going to believe it, I guess. Yeah.
They just keep saying this stuff.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. Well, at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this philosophy. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for the required service. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, over 50 appointments on Saturdays, and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet, we're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2023 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience and Georgia's only 9-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best winner. We're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor for details.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
Neil Bortz here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now, I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, CPAPs.com.
What's the mystery behind Mystery Valley Golf Course? Is it the fact that it's been voted one of Atlanta's must-play courses? Or is it the fact that it's conveniently located from anywhere in Atlanta? Or maybe it's because Mystery Valley has recently renovated the course, adding all new tipped Bermuda putting greens, upgrading all 66 sand bunkers, and improving the clubhouse and amenities all around. No matter what it is, Mystery Valley Golf Club has been a staple of the Atlanta golf community for many years, and it reopened with the new renovations. Now is the perfect opportunity to make a tee time and enjoy a round of golf at Mystery Valley, located next to Stone Mountain in Lithonia. Take in all of the beautiful natural scenery while enjoying a fantastic round of golf. Go to mysteryvalleygolfcourse.com to book tee times. But one question will always remain: how did Mystery Valley get its name?
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Wednesday, September 4th. State Democrats are appealing a ruling by Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger that allows independent presidential candidate Cornel West and socialist candidate Claudia de la Cruz on the ballot in November's election. Raffensperger stated that both West and de la Cruz cleared the 7,500 petition signature hurdle, allowing them to be on the ballot. The challenges are part of a national effort to block minor presidential candidates from taking votes away from Democrat candidate Kamala Harris. A FedEx driver was injured and hospitalized after he drove his truck into a Gwinnett County home. Neighbors said that the driver lost control after coming around a corner and swerved to avoid improperly parked vehicles before hitting a mailbox and then crashing into the residence. According to Gwinnett Fire, no one in the home was injured. The driver is expected to recover after being thrown from the truck and rushed to the hospital. And in sports, Chris Sale reached 200 strikeouts and earned his 16th win after pitching 7 strong innings, leading the Braves to a 3-0 win over the Colorado Rockies last night at Truist Park. Sale won his 6th straight game and remains the leading contender for the NL Cy Young. Charlie Morton will look to keep the momentum going tonight at 7:20 when the two teams meet in Game 2. You can catch all that action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, 8779 Southern. SouthernExteriors.co is their website, southernexteriors.co. So the Nashville Covenant Shooters manifesto was released by the Tennessee Star. And I don't know if y'all remember this, but I was in Nashville the morning this happened. Yeah. I left at 10 a.m. and we're headed out listening to the radio, and there's breaking news on the radio station that we're listening to on the way out of town saying there had been a shooting at a Covenant school in Nashville. I couldn't believe my ears, and I obviously started looking it up, and I was like, this is nuts. Can't believe it. We're up there for a friend's 50th birthday party. So this, just because I happened to be there and it just had such an impact on me, I've kept up with it. I've cared about it. And there's all kinds of reasons that everybody should, but just being there in the city the day it happened was unreal. This thing, Los, is full of crazy writings, and it's evident that this was a very, very disturbed woman. And in some of those, in some of the stuff that was released, it said she was almost admitted to a mental hospital at Vanderbilt University twice.
Yeah, and the amount of self-hatred that is in there, and talking about how they feel they should be in a boy's body, and that once they're dead and in heaven or wherever, that they should be a boy. To then, as you get further into it and you read how she's admitting that she intends to kill innocent people for her pain. It's like, what kind of psychosis do you think that lashing out at 3 children and 3 school workers, it was somehow going to fix the evil that had been visited upon you? It's like she was a little demon.
Yeah, but yeah. I think Rhino, that's the thing. When you are that far gone, when you are that mentally disturbed, there is no boundaries. So it's no surprise that she thought she was a boy. There's no surprise that she killed 9 people. When you're that mentally disturbed, like I said, there's nothing that you won't do. I mean, you're always fighting inside yourself. And look, in my family, unfortunately, we've had a few people that have had some severe mental issues. I have an aunt that was literally put away, and I don't say that in that, I know it sounds very harsh, but she is in a mental facility, and we go visit her, and now that her meds are regulated, she seems to be okay. She's been there for about 10 years now, and there's not a chance that she'll be able to leave, because every time my mom and daddy would get her a place to live, she would just trash it and go live on the street. It happened my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, we have a mental health crisis in this country, but we also have an incitement of these kind of people because, it comes down to a lot of different issues. Yeah, people need help and they need to be able to have access to that help and get that help. I think a lot of people understand that. The problem is that we don't have that ability to get those people to the help that they need, or we're afraid to. The other thing that we do is we create a fear, and that's probably what this Nashville shooter had, was a fear that was created by Democrats and others that went out there and said you're hated for who you want to be. And that's not necessarily the case. When we take one issue, if we're saying, hey, we don't want our children being indoctrinated in schools, we don't want these kind of things, we don't need females in male sports or in the locker room, that's big difference from saying that you're not loved or you're not cared about. Because everybody I know that might be considered a MAGA extremist, they care about these people, they love these people, they love everyone, they just want them to be healthy in every regard. But others are saying, hey, you're hated, they don't like you, you need to take them out. And that's what they hear, because they are mentally right now just cognitively declining in such a society that we've built this up, and we pretend that mental health is not a big deal, or that you wanting to be a man or a woman is just normal.
Well, calling this a mental health issue is not hatred.
No.
And when you read through this manifesto,
there's hatred in there.
Well, but it's very clear. She talks about being attractive to brown girls, and you recognize, well, she was clearly struggling with being lesbian and thought that the only way to fix this was for her to be a man attracted to brown girl women. Well, then it continues that she also hated her white privilege. Well, where is that coming from?
Right.
That's from the left, and that's from that madness that she just was poured into her, that somehow she should feel terrible about who she is because of the color of her skin. This is somebody clearly who was dealing with a lot of self-hatred issues.
I'll tell you, man, where we go to church, they even brought this up either this past Sunday or the Sunday before. Had to be the Sunday before, where our church has launched a Christ-centered counseling. Like, they have a full-on... That's how much of an issue I think that the United States is having with mental health. That churches are now saying, we're going to step in. We're going to fill that void where people that don't have a place to go now have a place to go. And it's all covered in tithes and people who give to the church. That's where it's all paid for. But there is an epidemic in America, and that's just one example of people trying to step up and do the right thing and help people with the issues they have. Because clearly, this woman never got the help she needed, Los.
Yeah, there's stuff with her family. There's stuff with her father. It's just rantings. And you understand why the idea of why it was never released until more than a year later. It's because the fervor that would have come under the trans community. Well, just how many of y'all are dealing with this sort of stuff, this gender dysphoria, this mental illness? Because there's nothing else you can take from this other than extreme mental illness.
That's right.
Yeah, but I want to go back to what you said, Doug, because I think it's really important that when we do find, churches and even synagogues and even, there are tons of other places that offer this kind of mental help, it's vilified that this is mental help. They want to go ahead and distract and say, no, they're trying to convert you. It's a conversion thing. They're trying to control you and rule. No. You're trying to control. You're the ones who are putting these ideas in people's head that, you're suffering from white privilege, or that religion is bad and that they're going and that's why when you see somebody, because she went to this school, I mean, she was a part of this community, and she felt that they were vilified so much, rather than seeing the love and what churches do. And I love Must Ministries. That's one of those places where terrific. Look what they do. They gather food for people who need it, and that's all charitable. And so is the mental health that or mental help that they're trying to do. Even when it comes to the issue of, hey, we want to protect children. We want you to come here. We'll give you outlets if you are pregnant, if you are hurting. We will help you in every way. That is all vilified by the left, which has causes somebody like this, who was a part of the church, to turn on their own church and turn on other children.
And bringing up Must Ministries, that's another one. They help people with addiction, ADHD, anger management, anxiety, counseling for kids, counseling for first responders, counseling for teens and young adults, which that woman absolutely could have benefited from.
And let's not forget, not long after you had a similar shooter in Louisville, and I only remember it because we were there like the week after it happened, and it was the same sort of stuff in terms of they weren't transsexual, but the self-hatred they had for themselves and for white people. And he was a white shooter.
Right. But
it's like, where does this come from? It comes from the crazy left. From the left, it tells you self-hatred, that you need to somehow, not care for yourself, and you need to be part of the cause. You got to strip away your identity. It's wild when you start reading through these how much that indoctrination worked on these people.
Which is insane, Los, because that's what they preach is identity politics, right? You got to divorce yourself from your white identity, but everybody else should marry their identity, right?
Well, our kids aren't allowed to have identity, and I love what Carlos just said there. We're stripping away identity from children. You should be able to have an identity and still love. I have an identity. I know exactly who I am, and I still love every single human that's on this planet. I love every single person that's in this country, and I love, there are trans people out there that I understand and I love, and I don't want to see them being harmed, but you're stripping away the identity and confusing these children to the point that they think everybody else is bad around them.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. It really is. The more you read about the Nashville shooter, the more that everything that you thought about what was going to come out eventually, and now has.
It was all speculation.
Until now.
It was dead on.
Now it's dead on accurate.
And if everybody told you, if the government continued to tell you that you're not worthy or you're not good enough and everybody else thinks you're crazy and everybody else thinks you're a problem and everybody else thinks you're wrong, eventually as a child, you're going to believe them.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that those people on the left usually go after young kids or young, impressionable minds. How do we convince them? Because they don't have any frame of reference.
I thought this was a really funny meme. It had somebody with like purple hair and they looked very strange, and there was a duck asking them, why don't y'all want to go speak at senior home centers?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Places like that. It's like, why does it have to be to kids?
Yeah. It always
why does it have to be to kids?
It is always. It is never the other way. The folks at thehill.com are worried how RFK Jr. might influence Donald Trump's issues of health. Might convince Trump to blow up the CDC or NIH as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. This is a quote from the article, he's a dangerous fanatic, which is all you need to hear to know that he's probably the right man for the job, y'all. The left is so unhinged. Did y'all see the article from Time Magazine where Time Magazine, on the front cover of the magazine, talked about, are processed and ultra-processed foods really that bad? Because that's been what RFK Jr. has been attacking.
The answer is correct. They're all bad.
Yes, they are. Of course they are. But you have the unhinged left going, well, are they? If RFK says they're bad, maybe they're not so bad.
I made my wife stop giving my youngest daughter Lunchables.
Well, yeah, because those things are just they're horrible. They're not even real food. They're not even real, but that's the thing. They are so unhinged on the left that next, let's say RFK Jr. says, you know what, smoking's real bad. You're going to have the front of Time Magazine with nothing but a pack of Cools. Yeah, there'll be Cools. It'll be Cowboy Killers, Marlboro Reds. And they'll be like, are they really that bad? That's what's coming next.
Right.
I'm telling you, man, these people are absolutely losing their mind. And I guess it's not surprising.
Well, you know what jumps out to me? Is that you had Kamala Harris in that one interview they've done so far, just the one.
Yeah.
She was asked if she'd ever consider putting a Republican in her cabinet. And she hemmed and hawed. She's like, well, I don't really want to get into it. Well, the answer's no.
No, of course.
All right. But just simply as far as Trump's transition team, he's already been like, I'm going to have multitude. I'm going to have Tulsi Gabbard. I'm going to have RFK Jr. And then he's even talking about Elon Musk, obviously playing. These are former Democrats or are Democrats.
Yeah, well, look, I'm open to having different thoughts and different ideas. I always have been. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to agree with everything that RFK Jr. does. I don't agree with everything he does right now. There's all kinds of things that I disagree with him on. But I at least respect him, and I don't mind hearing him out. The left is so furious with him. They'll take things that they actually agree with him on and throw that to the curb and say ultra-processed foods are good for you. I mean, they're willing to go to that extreme.
It's become one of these that you cannot agree with anybody that you are on the opposite side politically from. And that's the problem with the country today. We've gone so far to the extremes, whether it's the far left or the far right, that even if it makes sense sometimes, we go, yeah, I don't care. I don't like them. I mean, Joe Manchin made a lot of great sense in a lot of things. Those moderate ideas are out. You know, the Trump ideas or somebody who's an outsider. You can't have that. So even Republicans will turn on him. Democrats will turn on Joe Biden as quick as, you know, he wins the he wins the vote to be the candidate. Look how quick they turned on Joe Manchin. Look how quick they turned on Kyrsten Sinema. You cannot talk about things anymore. RFK Jr. at one point was a legacy Democrat. As soon as he started saying, hey, look, here's the information I have. Here's what happened to me. Here's what happened to other people. It's very similar. Let's look into this. Now all of a sudden he's the bad guy.
Environmental policies aside, I like what he brings up. Sure. With COVID, he's always been very good. Yep. And I like what he talks about with diet, processed foods, things that we're giving our kids, the stuff that we're doing. But it wasn't him coming on board that won my vote with Donald Trump. It was the Lex Fridman interview where he said, as far as releasing more UFO footage, he definitely is going to. And at that point, I was like, hold on. RFK talking about this stuff, plus Donald Trump's going to release more UFO footage? Yeah. Done. I'll vote twice.
Give me that. Give me the release of the John F. Kennedy files and all the other files that we need to see. I'm all behind all of it.
If COVID taught us anything, it's do not listen to the CDC or NIH. I mean, come on. We learned that immediately.
I need some 4K videos of some of these things that they're flying around.
I'm trying to get away from it, and there you go, dragging me right back in.
These underwater beings or friends in the sea.
It's like
Aquaman.
Wait
till you get probed, Tug.
It's like Aquaman. He talks to the fishes.
They could be all around us right now.
Of course they could be. Right, sitting right here.
I think Goey is one.
Goey may be. Here's the thing. They hate Donald Trump, and his policies are, hey, let's try to cut some government waste. Nope, don't want that. What? What do you mean? Hey, let's bring RFK in and go to war with ultra-processed foods that are killing people, and most Americans' diet consists of at least 50 to 60 to 70% of it. Nope, don't want that. I mean, just it's jarring to listen to the things that they are not.
We want to attack Big Pharma. No, RFK Jr., don't talk about Big Pharma in a bad way.
Never. They're our friends. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show. The way to prepare your kids for school and for life. Mama knows best. Next on Extra 106.3.
The Kimmer Show is only live on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home.
Did you know that most bald men still own and keep their comb? They just can't part with it.
Can't part with it, ladies and gentlemen. I was waiting for you to... Yeah. Oh, it reminds me, I got a story on the Fuller Brush Man.
Oh, no. Oh, great.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
SIA Information Network and Computing USA, Inc. seeks senior infrastructure engineer in Atlanta, Georgia. Design, implement, maintain, and support IT infrastructure services in accordance with business and functional requirements using appropriate SIA standards, policies, and processes across multiple projects. Must be willing to travel 40% of time domestically and 30% of time internationally. This is a fully remote position reporting to SIA company headquarters. The individual performing this role must be willing to travel and work remotely from airport locations located throughout the U.S. To apply, email resume to roberto.bonilla@sita.aero.
Hey, everybody, it's Neil Bortz, an actual attorney spokesperson for Van Sant Law. Notice the heavy traffic out there? Yep, school's back in session. Things can happen. Sometimes people aren't that careful. Maybe an accident. But David Van Sant, he's there to help smooth the way for you if somebody you love gets hurt. Call Van Sant Law at 855-GA-INJURY. 855-GA-INJURY. First call after 9/11, Van Sant Law. 855-GA-INJURY.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
The world's biggest banks, especially those of China and Russia, have declared a full-scale attack on the U.S. dollar. They are now dumping dollars and buying record amounts of gold. So what do they know that we don't? Well, they know that our dollar is at a tipping point as the world's reserve currency. Call 800-475-22 2280 right now. Get 2 free reports from Kevin DeMerit and his team at Lear Capital. De-dollarization and $3,200 gold. They are both essential reads to understand how gold can help you keep more of your hard-earned money. Since 2020, the dollar has lost 24% of its purchasing power. It's simple for the banks. Get rid of something that's losing value and replace it with something rising in value. Please do the same with Lear Capital. If you want to protect your wealth like the big banks, call the people I trust at Lear Capital. They'll send you a free report and an IRA guide and answer any question. Call them now, 800-475-2280. 800-475-2280.
Securing America.
Monday, 2 Marines serving aboard the USS Wasp were attacked in western Turkey town of Izmir by Turkish nationalists belonging to the Turkish Youth Union, depending on Press Secretary Major General Patrick Ryder.
This is clearly a troubling incident.
Videos posted to social media show a plastic bag being thrown over the head of one of the Marines while the crowd shouted, "Yankee, go home."
The 2 Marines are safe. They were aided by other Marines in the area and subsequently taken to a local hospital for evaluation as a precaution, but were not injured.
15 Turks were arrested following the incident. However,
no Marines have been detained by authorities, and those involved are cooperating with investigators.
While Ryder gave credit to the American service members.
Certainly very proud of the professionalism of our service members, and most importantly, that they're safe.
Kevin Urescu, Fox News.
The Morning Xtra has you covered until 10 a.m. Then it's Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, and Buck Sexton at noon, and The Kimmer Show taking over at 3, only on Extra 106.3.
Talk Rhino and Los on The Morning Xtra. We're going to turn this thing over at 10 to the Glenn Beck program. Incredible show. Always learn something with Beck. He's got Michael Schellenberger. They're talking about banning of X in the United States is closer than you think. And then Carol Roth, former investment banker, are we headed toward another 2008 financial crisis? I feel like both of those topics have been discussed here on The Morning Xtra.
Carol Roth brings very little good news to the table, and I'm not saying I love it, but I do enjoy her information.
Yeah, well, look, you can't help it because at least you're getting...
Yeah, make your adjustments accordingly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You better be listening to the Glenn Beck program, which starts...
I mean, she jokes around about it.
10.
Brings her on, and she's like, I'm only coming on when there's bad stuff happening.
That's right. I'm like the bearer of bad news. Y'all get ready for it. Here it comes. I wanted to introduce you to a mama that was dropping her kid off at school. And this is the way, if you're going to prepare your kids, this is the way to do it these days. And it's not just for school necessarily. This is probably a life preparation too, but you just start it really early. I actually saw this when Riley Gaines shared it yesterday. And I want you to hear what they said to this mama said to her son when she's dropping him off at school.
Okay, Boogie, how many genders are there?
2.
2. And you are?
Boy.
Can you be a girl?
No.
Good. Can girls be boys?
No.
Okay. What do you say if someone starts talking about being transgender or gay?
This is not appropriate conversation.
Good. And what do we say? Drugs are
losers and communism doesn't work.
Good job, baby. Ready for kindergarten?
Drugs are for losers.
Kindergarten.
Drugs are for losers and communism doesn't work.
What a home run right on the end.
I'm telling you. That's so good. And just the preciousness of this kid's like, no, this is all BS. And this is not an appropriate conversation for us to have. Love it.
You know, it is one of those things, though, because, you know, again, I have a 14-year-old son, and we talk all the time about what's going on in school. And although that, I'm going to have him, talk to me, and we're going to talk, and I'm going to give him the truth, he already knows the truth. I don't have to tell them that. It's kind of like what Matt Walsh did when he went to Africa and asked simple questions, and they were like, yeah, no, girls can't have penises. It was that simple. It's the same thing with your children. Their common sense is there. And my son already knows, this kid thinks he's a cat. He's not a cat.
Right.
It's that easy.
He can't be a cat either. That's the other thing.
But he also, I think it is important that what she did there was, this is not appropriate conversation for where we are right
now. That's exactly right, man.
I've never had to, indoctrinate my child or explain anything to my child. I've never been because again, if you're talking to a 5-year-old, the only reason they're going to say communism's bad is because you told them communism is bad. But so it's interesting when my daughter brought up in a social studies class how this one kid was bringing up the idea of communism and what it does. And she asked a very simple question to them. She said, Tell me where communism has been beneficial around the world.
That sounds like front office.
And it sounds like something that would come out of my mouth. And that was the thing. I did not bring it up. It's just she's very into history, starting from like World War II on. And you can't avoid the battle between capitalism and communism since that time period.
And right now, it's getting brought up more than ever before, Rhino. I mean, it's a topic of discussion nearly every day on television, on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked to my son about communism. I talked to him about socialism and what happened, especially since we had come from Jewish heritage, about what happened during World War II and Nazi Germany. We talk about that. You know what else I teach him? That you should never hate anyone because of the color of their skin. Golden rule is most important. It was what was taught to me by my father. You treat everybody the way that you want to be treated. It didn't matter. He didn't break it down to different races or anything else. I knew that slavery was bad because my father told me the golden rule. Nobody had to teach me that in school, just like nobody has to teach me that communism or socialism is bad. It was something that I learned, I investigated because of, the push by my father. Would I say that's indoctrination? No, not at all. I think it's
explanation
education.
is what it sounds more like to me.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the thing, but isn't it sad that mother felt the need to have to do that? Like, people are willing to talk to children about things that do not belong in school. And then you have people like Stephen King saying, well, my books are being banned. No, they're not. They're being banned in elementary school libraries because they're probably not appropriate for that level of reading or that level of understanding. So are they being taken out of an elementary school library? Probably so. Are they being banned? No.
That's
Stephen King. Yeah, you're silly.
You're more than welcome to buy any one of them.
Absolutely. Do anything. Or go check it out at a library.
Sure.
The library in your community, I bet, has every Stephen King book. Nobody's banning it anywhere. We just don't want kids reading things that are inappropriate for their age level. This is such a common sense thing, and anybody that argues otherwise knows exactly what they're doing.
I was a huge Stephen King fan. In fact, I read almost every book up until a point. I stopped reading it after a while. I got into Dean Koontz. I like the horror genre. I didn't start reading Stephen King until high school. And you know what? I went out and bought the books because it was something I was interested in. It would not have been appropriate. I'm glad I didn't read it when I was in elementary school. I never would have slept, and I never would have went around a clown ever again.
Yeah, that was middle school for me, and that was left behind by my mom's younger sister, who was in college at the time. She was living with us during that summer so she didn't have to travel back. And so I was like, what is this It book? Oh, God.
No, thank you. You know what? But that kid is going to benefit from his mama teaching him those things. I mean, he's going to grow up knowing right from wrong. He's going to see everything for what it is and be able to adapt and overcome. He's going to be like a little Marine, just adapt and overcome to any situation. And he's going to grow up to be just fine. He's going to grow up to be well-adjusted. Maybe someone might call him an alpha male.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
No.
Masculinity. You know what? A lot of people are going to give her a hard time for doing this, and they're going to be like, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? This isn't any different to me than warning your child about going to a white van that's full of puppies or candy. I mean, there's no difference to me in saying, hey, here's what you need to be prepared for. Here's what you're going to be told. I don't want you to just listen to that person. I want you to be objective and understand both sides of this story. I don't want my kid going to a van. There's nothing wrong with telling them that.
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. You're supposed to teach your kids. You're supposed to bring them up a particular way. You're supposed to give them your values, because if you don't, someone else will. And that's what that mama's trying to prevent. Just don't try to indoctrinate my kid at school. And I think there are great teachers out there that are trying to prevent this, but I think there is an equal amount that are invested in doing exactly what that mama's trying to prevent. And that's the sad part. That's the scary part. That's the reason she has to tell her kid that. So good for her. I'm glad she did it. And I hope more parents are paying attention and will do the very same thing.
And he'll end up at an SEC school with a SEC championship, probably.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
And probably lots of really pretty co-eds doing dances for whatever their sorority is, which I know nothing about sororities and fraternities. I mean, obviously, I didn't do any of that stuff. And Los, you probably did you do that as an athlete?
No.
Did you have time for? I was just say, yeah, Jacob doesn't.
I had real brothers.
Yeah, exactly. Jacob doesn't have time for any of that.
No,
stuff
but
either.
fine. I get it. Hey, the Greek system is, if you're looking to be social in that way. Yeah, and those girls are basically looking to say, here, rush with us because This
we're
is
cool.
how cool we are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I got no problem with it. I just don't know anything about it. But
Well, you were in the Navy.
Yeah, it was a different type of fraternity. You know, it was you're doing something that is going to better the world, or at least that's your hope.
Yes.
You know? So you have a vested interest in doing things the right way. And for me, mostly it was cleaning toilets.
And you got to learn the touch of a man.
Yeah, well, only once. No, but seriously, man, I cleaned more toilets than I did anything else in the Navy. I mean, I got really.
It's funny
really
when
good
you
at
talk about like the electrical systems and the things that you worked with in the radar systems, and then you're like, and I cleaned toilets, lots of toilets.
Truth, man. I ran air search radar. I ran surface search radar. I dealt with a smidge of intel, a lot of communications, and a lot of cleaning toilets.
And then you tried to order a steak at a brothel, but whatever.
Yeah, right, absolutely. But that was off the ship, and that was just
that was part of the fraternity rush.
That's right.
That was my naivety. However you say that.
Naivete.
That sounds good.
Naivete. Being naive.
Close enough.
Being naive is what I mean. Yes, there was a lot of that.
You're a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate it. And so are y'all. That's why this show is so fun. And we appreciate you being here. We love laughing with you. We love discussing things that matter with you. And we always welcome your calls at 404-741-1230, at Extra 1063 across the social media platforms. Support the advertisers on the morning show and the afternoon show that support your values and ideas. You don't have to buy something you don't need. Use a service you don't need, but when you need it, give them the first chance to earn it because they support your values and they believe the same way you do. For Rhino, for Los, for Board Op Goey, Virgin River, the captain of the Morning Extra, I'm Tug. Y'all come back now, you hear?
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's a camera. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Now, we have a drug problem in this country, both illegal and legal drugs. You watch these advertisements.